Welcome to the 128th episode of the So Video Games podcast, where we talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. If we are playing it, we will be talking about it. Today we are recording on April 22nd, 2019. My name is Brad Galloway, and I am the editor of GameCritics.com. I am also 50% of this here show. With me, as always, Corey Motley, staff writer at Game Critics. How you doing, Corey?
Brad, to be completely honest with you, I am pretty hungry. I got home from work today and I was like starving to death. And last week, listeners don't know this, but last week, literally right before we started recording the show, like sat down, was talking to you. We had not hit record on Audacity yet. I discovered the alarming fact that I had overdrawn my checking account right in that moment, but we made it through the show. I got it together, and I was okay. And I'm hungry, and I swear I'm gonna make a point here. I'm hungry, and now I'm like deathly afraid of eating out because my big thing for the last couple weeks was that I like got fast food a bunch of times, and I don't know if you know this or not, Brad, but whenever you eat out a lot, that starts to add up. And then sometimes you overdraw on your checking account and you're in deep shit. And so today I was like, man, I'm really hungry, but I don't want to get food on the way home because then I'm going to be poor again, even though I know I'm not because I just got paid. So I did what any reasonable adult would do. And I got home from work today and I just ate some ice cream that was in the freezer.
The only possible answer.
Yes, the only way to remedy the situation. There was ice cream. I was hungry. So I ate some of it, and now I'm feeling better.
I guess my only question is, what kind of ice cream was it?
It was Reese's peanut butter cup, but it's like actually like Reese's brand peanut butter. It's like chocolate ice cream with like swirls of Reese's peanut butter and like pieces of broken up Reese's peanut butter cups in it. So basically the healthiest option I could find at the grocery store, and it tastes every bit of it.
I mean, that sounds perfectly lovely. I do like me a good peanut butter ice cream or a good peanut butter treat, so I'm definitely a peanut fan. I mean, that sounds really good, but I guess the question is then, what do you do for dinner? If that was your lunch, what's next? Cupcakes or cheesecake or what?
Well, yesterday, Patrick and I had grand plans to run some errands. We went to a parade yesterday because there's a parade pretty much every 30 minutes ever in New Orleans for any given thing ever. Yesterday's occasion, it was Easter yesterday, and I know I've talked about this on the show before, but it's been a while. In New Orleans, there is a gay Easter parade. There's like a not gay Easter parade like earlier in the day, and then there's a gay Easter parade in the afternoon. And so we went to the parade yesterday, the gay one, because we don't go to those straight people parades. We went to the gay one, and we had like these plans to like run to Target and pick up some stuff, and then go to Trader Joe's and pick up some groceries, and then come home. And then our dumb asses, it was like 6:30, and we went out to dinner last night after the parade, and we're like trying to decide what all we want to do before we go home. And Patrick's like, oh, I should probably check and see if Trader Joe's is open. I don't know what time they close on Sundays. And of course they were closed because it was Easter. Of course they were. And I was like, I had thought of, there's 3 Targets in town, and I like looked up the one that I thought we were closest to on Google Maps to see like if we were as close as I thought we were. And of course, Target was closed. So why did we pick Easter Sunday to do our fucking errands? We're stupid. So tonight, I think we might go and do our Trader Joe's errand running tonight, which means I will probably be eating a bag of vegetable fried rice and some tempura cauliflower for dinner, which is amazing. And if anybody's listening and just rolled their eyes or threw up in their mouth a little bit when I said tempura cauliflower, it's amazing. So shut up and go to your local Trader Joe's and buy some and try it.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing about the tempura cauliflower. I have had it, not at Trader Joe's, but I've had it before, and I generally think cauliflower is disgusting, but it is good when you put breading on it and fry it, as would pretty much anything be. I mean, a dirt clod, a dead mouse, anything would be good with breading and being fried. So I look forward to hearing more about that, but these people are not here to talk about our food habits. They're not here to hear about Trader Joe's or Easter shopping. Although I do want to ask you about the difference between a straight Easter parade and a gay Easter parade. But hold on to that. Let's not talk about that now, because that's going to be a big sidetrack. Save that for after the show, because I do want to hear about that. No, we've actually just got done with it, like an hour plus of banter. So if you're listening this far and you're wondering when the fuck are we going to get to the games, I promise we're going to get to them right now. But if you want more, not necessarily Trader Joe's, but we just have to talk about TV and music
and robot arms.
Robot arms. If you want to hear about some of that stuff, stay tuned after the closing music, and you'll get like at least an hour's worth of extra content there. So there's more goodies in store. So let's get to it. Let's get to what you came for, the games chat. And before we actually do that, I do want to address the game giveaway. We are ongoing. We're going to be doing a game giveaway once per episode. It's just going to be going for the foreseeable future until I run out of game codes. And I got a pile of game codes. It's going to be a while before I run out of games. So I'll talk more about this at the end of the episodes. But for right now, I do want to announce last week's winners. We have 2 winners last week, and those winners are Jessica Entwistle and Mustafa Devar, who writes to us all the way from Iran. Wow, thank you very much for listening to us all the way over there. And thank you both for entering. You both are going to be getting an email from me very soon. I will ask you what platforms you would like, and then I will send you a couple of games as an hour way of saying thank you for listening and thanks for entering the contest. So look to your email box very soon. Again, we will be giving away more games, but that's going to be at the end of the show. Right now, we're going to get into talking about games. Corey, The Division 2. We talked about it a couple times. We went into like an hour-long rant about everything that was wrong with it and why we thought it was boring and why it sucked. But we keep playing this game. This is like the most boring game that we keep playing and can't stop playing. We finally, after Jupiter was in ascendance and Mars was in the right house, the stars aligned, and we found some time to play together. You, me, and the wife played last night, got some Division 2 in, and I gotta be honest with you, we played for 2 hours and it felt like the blink of an eye. We sat down, and before I knew it, it was like 10 p.m. and I had no idea where the time went to. So we played some Division 2. I have some thoughts. I'm sure you have some thoughts. I want you to lead off if you would be so kind. Let's check back in with the Division 2, sir.
I would love to. So I just want to start off by saying the thing that I did not expect to like so much in the Division 2 that I'm liking, and I don't recall this being something that I liked as much in the first one, and I'm kind of at odds with the first one about this, because in the Division 1, it takes place in New York, and it's largely cold, snowy sometimes, kind of wintry, damp, and I liked that. I thought that was a great setting. Usually I roll my eyes whenever games take place in like New York or San Francisco or LA, because I'm from the Midwest, and I think it's really annoying whenever people just think that New York and California are the only things that exist in the United States, and I hate East Coast, West Coast, and the New York collection of this and the LA collection of that or whatever. It just it's something that really annoys me, because there's so much more going on in the United States than fucking New York and California. But I did really like the New York setting of the Division, because it just felt, I don't know, kind of raw and kind of cold and kind of miserable, which really went in keeping with the game. And the Division 2 takes place in Washington, D.C., which I'm not really familiar with at all, so I didn't really have any expectations about what it would be like. But something that differentiates the Division 2 with the Division 1 is that in the outdoor areas of the Division 2, which is most of it, because it's open world in the streets, it's kind of springy. It's kind of I Am Legend-y. It's kind of like moss and trees have overgrown some of the world. It's often rainy, which I actually like a lot. But given the two, I actually think I prefer kind of the cold, damp New York setting to the Washington, D.C. setting, and I said a minute ago that this is why it's at odds with everything. Something that I unexpectedly love about the Division 2 that I didn't think I was going to love, that I didn't think I was going to find interesting at all, is that among the game being basically just to go to this room, shoot these people, go to the next room, shoot these people, rinse and repeat for 20 hours, I'm often incredibly impressed with the level design of the main story missions, because the main story missions kind of funnel you into a dungeon-like area, and most of them are indoors, where you go in like a hotel, or you go in a parking garage, or you go in a fucking like NASA building, and like you're fighting through these areas, and those are generally like mission-specific areas where you go in one side, you go through the mission through the building or buildings or whatever, and then you come out the other side, and then you don't necessarily like revisit that building or that space until you do, unless you want to do the mission again or, you know, replay it or whatever. But there have been a number of missions in the Division 2 that I'm like, just from like a visual and like level layout perspective, I'm incredibly impressed with. And usually it's for like the kind of shit that only I would find really nerdy about video games, where like Brad and Gina and I walk into a room. There was one level that was in a TV station that I thought was incredibly cool, where we were like walking up sort of like these not back alleys, but like the backstage kind of news area, and we like go up these stairs onto this kind of balcony area that's like behind the scenes, and there's like this wall of like TVs and computer monitors, and you know, it wasn't just a wall on the wall of TVs, like the wall of TVs like went up to the ceiling and then like curved over onto the ceiling. And, like, some of the TVs were obviously doing, like, the salt and pepper static thing. Some of them had, like, you know, the bars of color on it. And some of them had, like, news stations kind of playing on them. And it's just, like, little touches like that where, like, yeah, there might be, like, 10 people in the corner shooting at us. But, like, we go up the stairs and I look at that wall of TVs that's arcing onto the ceiling. And I just have to take a second and just look at it. And usually, and I know, Brad, you can confirm this, over the mic, I sound like a dummy because we get somewhere, and every time I'm like, wow, this is nice. Meanwhile, there's like 10 dudes shooting at us from the corner. And it really takes a lot for me to want to stop and look at things in video games like this, where they're mainly focused about shooting or about, you know, run and gunning through the areas or cat and mouse gameplay. And it brings me back to Deus Ex Human Revolution a little bit, because that was one of the first games I remember actively doing this all the time in, where there's just so many interesting design elements in the world of Deus Ex where I just want to stop and look at stuff. I want to look at that guy's pants. I want to look at that woman's high heels. I want to look at this skyscraper, and I want to look at the design of the posters that are in this back alleyway. And it just takes a lot for the design of video games to like really make me want to stop and look at things. And I was expecting the Division 2 to just be a bland run and gun. I don't care about the environments. Oh, we're in one, you know, dilapidated hotel after another until the game is over with. But there's been some really incredible level design in it that I'm actually super impressed with, and that makes me want to stop and look at things and appreciate the colors of what's going on and the environment of what's going on. And it was just really unexpected, but totally a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I agree. And it is really specifically about the story missions. Although, I mean, I don't want to give credit where credit is due. I think that Ubisoft spends a lot of time and care and effort in their environments. Like, if you just take a minute and look at, I mean, basically anything, like, it looks real good. Like, there's a lot of details. There's a lot of thought put into certain things, like where the trash is and like where the boxes are and how things are laid out and like what is in the environment. I mean, just looking around, it is actually quite good. I mean, I think that's one of Ubisoft's strengths in general as a company. They seem to really put a lot of time and effort into making the world look sharp. I mean, I haven't played very much of Gay Assassin's Creed, the one with the lesbian in Greece or whatever. I forget what it was called. Odyssey. I bought it. I'm going to go and play it, but I haven't played it yet. But I mean, I heard endless people taking screenshots and like really like just being in love with the world, and like, you know, and Assassin's Creed in general has always been pretty famous for having good environments, a lot of the Ubisoft stuff. So that's pretty clear. I agree. I mean, I think especially last night, because we had kind of like had this kind of unspoken agreement that we were only going to do the story missions together so that we would all progress through the campaign together. My wife and I have been kind of doing like random side missions and discovering that a lot of that stuff just like regenerates after a while. So we end up doing like the same side missions like over and over, which is kind of a drag. But we finally found time to play, and we started doing like, we did like, I think 3 or 4 story missions in a row, and they were all like genuinely like really cool. Like there's like radar dishes inside some kind of weird observatory thing that was also kind of like a garden area, which was kind of cool. We went to the NASA section that you mentioned. And there's one part, I think it was a high point for me. I'm sure it was probably a high point for you as well, where we're in like a science lab and it's all white and sterile looking inside this lab. But then something happens and the light shifts and it's like all like red and orange all throughout the whole room. And it just became this weird like hellscape all of a sudden. That was pretty cool. So definitely the environments I think are good. I mean, especially the story missions, because I mean, even though they are really good, when we're out in the world of New York, a lot of it does kind of blend together, and like it's all, I don't know, just like there's not a lot of standout moments when you're in the world, even though I think it looks good, if that makes any sense. Like there's just not enough like distinct landmarks, or I mean, I don't know how faithful it is to real life New York or DC. I'm sorry, DC. But yeah, those are really good. On the other hand, I gotta say, like the further we get into it, and I've said this before, I'm going to be repeating myself, so I won't say it very much. But, like, man, I just, like, they fuck up the story, like, so bad. The story is so boring. There's literally, like, no... When you try to figure out what the story is, all you hear is, like, this giant sucking sound where the story should go. And I'm like, God, how did you guys have these cool environments and have so many cool ideas? And the story just fucking blows. Like, it's terrible. Story is terrible. Handling of the characters is terrible. Like, your relationship as an agent to the civilians is terrible. Like, it's just like, dude, what is going on with you guys? Like, it is so... Like, this game is so close to being, like, fucking amazing. Like, if they keep the environments, put a few more landmarks in the world, if they actually gave you characters to interact with that you actually gave a shit about, this game would be fucking amazing. And I just, like... I play it and I have a good time playing it. Like the playing, and we've said this before, like the moment to moment gameplay is really fun. Like last night, you know, we're all playing. You were like in one area, I was in another area. We both like see the same bad guy. He's going after you. I get him from the back, like, and you and I converge on this guy, and just kind of like in the moment of flow, the flow of the level, like we're both coming together, teaming up. Like we kill this guy at the same time, so we're kind of like assisting each other. We come back. My wife's on another section. She's kind of holding it down. We're kind of helping each other out. Like, it's actually fun to play, like, from moment to moment. I think it's great. But, like, God, I just, like, could not give a shit about, like, any of the rest of it. And it's such a shame because if they just bumped it up a little bit, like, this would be, like, a classic, dude. I could see myself getting really deep into this. But I just don't care about anything other than how it feels to play, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a good thing that it does feel good to play, because if this game didn't feel good to play, it would be like, it'd be like a loser on all fronts, except for maybe like the level design. Because yeah, the story is just like, it's just so like copied and pasted. Like you go to this base, there's the person who's like the leader, quote unquote, of the like sanctuary area. They tell you to go to this place and shoot people. And like literally every mission is like the exact same thing happens in every mission. You go to a building, you shoot a bunch of people, you go to the next room and shoot a bunch of people, you go to the next room and shoot a bunch of people, you go to the next room and shoot a bunch of people, then you go to the next room and you shoot a bunch of people, and then you shoot a really tough person who's the boss, and then you exit the building. Like, that's every single
Literally every mission.
mission.
Yes, you're correct. Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's definitely a good thing that, you know, the moment-to-moment gameplay is really where this game shines. Like, it's really fun to play. It feels good to shoot. The sound design is really good for the weapons. Once you really, like, figure out something that I like is once you really figure out what weapon type you like. And for me, because you have two main weapons and then a sidearm, and your sidearm is, I think, can be a pistol or, like, a tiny, like, 2-barrel shotgun or maybe, like, an Uzi or something. I use a semi-automatic rifle. That's, like, my main gun that I use. And when I say semi-automatic, I mean it basically shoots as fast as I can pull the right trigger, but it's not fully automatic where it keeps firing if you hold the right trigger. That's my main gun. My second gun is a shotgun, because I'm all about the shotguns. And then I have, like, a pistol or something for my sidearm, which I don't really use that much. But, like, once you figure out, because I mean, they have like 3-round burst guns, they have double barrel shotguns, they have clip shotguns, they have sniper rifles, they have machine guns, they have large machine guns. You know, there's a lot of different guns to pick from. And once you like figure out which gun you like, or which like couple gun types you like the best, and you like really settle into how you like to play the game, it really starts to shine. And I'm really glad that the level design is kind of there to like elevate it, because I mean, the moment-to-moment gameplay is good enough to, like, even if I were fighting through a hotel after another hotel after another hotel, like, yeah, I might be, like, a little bit annoyed. Like last night, for example, we did this like amazing like NASA space. We weren't in space, but it was like a space center mission. And the next mission was on like a subway. And like literally while we were playing, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like we went from this like amazing like NASA museum science center into a fucking subway for the next mission. But that's like what I would expect of the game. Like if that was all it was, I'd be like, well, of course we're fighting in a subway. Because it's a fucking Tom Clancy game, and that's like all you do is fight through like hotels and subways and subway yards and like the streets. But the fact that they have like given me this good level design in the main missions makes me like appreciate it, but it also kind of makes me demand more, because then when I get to a mission that's in a really like, you know, kind of like regular quote unquote area for a game, then I'm suddenly like, wow, why are we here? Whenever I see what the game can do in the TV station and the science lab and the NASA center, like, why are we in a subway right now? Like, they really need to keep, you know, the stakes and the design of the mission crescendoing rather than kind of going up and down. But I'm glad that it's crescendoing at all, because that is something I honestly didn't expect from the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a really difficult thing for me, because it's like, when I look at it, I just think all I can see is the problems with it, right? Like, I mean, after being a game critic for 20 years, I am hyper-focused on, like, what is wrong with the game. That's just how my brain works. I mean, in real life, but also, like, in games reviewing. And it's just, like, a list of shit that they're getting wrong, right? But something is not going wrong altogether, because we keep playing this game. Like, when I play this game, I have fun. I want to play it again. And, like, even though you said, like, literally all we're doing is going from room to room, killing the same, like, 9 guys, that's all we're doing! Like, there's... Like, when we finally hit the NASA section and we were, like, quote-unquote escorting this piece, which actually we didn't even have to even do anything. It was basically just, like, shoot guys while this piece of background scenery moves in the background. I was like, oh, yay, something cool, something different's happening. All right, it's awesome. But, like, I mean, even though that's literally all we're doing is shooting the same 9 guys in room after room, something about it is really fun, and something about it keeps me coming back. But, like, I don't like the UI. Like, I don't like the systems. I don't like the upgrade systems. I don't like the story. I don't like... There's, like, so much of this game that I fucking just don't like that I think just straight up sucks. And yet, we keep playing it, and I keep enjoying it, and it is, like, breaking my brain, like, how... Like, I don't understand what it is about this, because I'm not usually the loot and shoot guy. I'm not, like, the Diablo guy who can play, like, Diablo for 3 seasons in a row because I just want better loot. Like, that doesn't usually attract me, and I'm not really drawn in by getting better guns. Like, if something feels better, cool. But I'm not, like, lusting after a specific gun, or I don't usually, like, play gun porn games where, like, the gun is the whole focus. Like, I just, whatever, it's like a tool or, you know, a means of, interacting with the world, but it's not something that really gets me. But I just can't put my finger on why I think this game is so fun to play, despite the fact that, like, so many things are, like, bad about it.
Yeah, this game's really, like, it's an anomaly, and it just makes me wish, and we both have probably said this before, but it makes me wish that, like, if, you know, I doubt anybody at Ubisoft would ever be listening to the show, and they've probably already heard this criticism a million times, like everything we've talked about, but it's just like, if they really put the time and the focus more to, like, fix the things that we have complaints about, or, like, make them better, rather than just make a copy-pasted sequel in a new city, because, like, I don't want to sound super rude about it, but that's, like, literally what it is. This game does not feel any different from the Division 1. There's not, like, new systems, there's not... You know, there's some new skills, but, like, it feels exactly the same as the first Division. Like, if they had taken this experience that is somehow mediocre and magical at the same time, and, like, really put effort into the things that we have complaints about, then, I mean, this would be, like, a 9 out of 10 for me, probably. But the fact that they just, like, have taken the existing game, put it in a new city, and have not really, like, fixed anything from the old game, or, like, made an effort to, like, make the story better, or characterize people more, or have different mission types, you know, rather than just shooting a bunch of people in a row. Like, it just, I don't know, makes me wish that they would do that. And I mean, hopefully, I'm sure they're going to make another one. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that in the Division 3 that they will start to address those things. Like, it only makes sense that they would, because they can only, I mean, I guess Ubisoft is guilty as charged of putting out a very similar game over and over and over again, cough, cough, Assassin's Creed, cough, cough. But, like, they would do so much better to really address the things that are just, like, mediocre about the game and try to, like, really elevate it rather than just put the same thing out over and over and over again, because that will only get them so far, especially with us, but with the general public too.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact, that exact reason is why I ended up picking up a copy of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because I was thoroughly done with Assassin's Creed. I mean, I started playing it at the beginning when it first came out. I remember before the first one ever hit and all the hype and the excitement around it and, you know, all that stuff. But it's been going on forever. There's like a jillion in the Assassin's Creed series. And I'm over it, dude. I am so over it. Like, I just couldn't give a fuck about that. But when they talked about spending more time with the main character, specifically the female character, and that the fact that you could be queer or you could be straight, and that was going to be much more of the focus, that was enough to make me think, well, okay, cool. I know that Ubisoft nails these other aspects of a game. I know they do beautiful worlds, and I know they give you tons of content, and I know that they have lots of systems that you can engage with if you like those systems. But none of that was enough for me. But when they said that they were going to finally focus on character, that was really the turning point. So I don't know if they actually succeeded at that, but it was enough for me to pony up a couple bucks. I mean, I bought the game, which is more than I can say for the last 19 Assassin's Creed games. And I wish they would, like you said, I wish they would do the same with the Division. I wish that, I mean, I understand they have to kind of keep it going. It's kind of like a game as a service thing. It's kind of like an Infinite game where they want you to keep coming back every Friday with your buddies and grind. I get that. But you could put in a good campaign. You could put in people with personality. Like, you know, like in Destiny, I haven't played Destiny in a long time, but I heard a lot of my friends saying, oh, I like this character, or this person's at the store, or like, you know, there's a little bit to connect to. Like, there's a bit more personality to it. And I feel like that is really the Division's biggest problem right now, is like there is just nothing to connect to other than the gameplay, which, I mean, like we've said, is actually pretty good. So good for them. That's something we can connect to. But like, I want more than that. And I feel like this game can be so much better than it is. So it's a little bit frustrating. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Final thoughts, or should we move on?
The last thing I want to say about this, and I cannot believe I didn't say it the first time, is that one of the first major characters you meet in the game is the sort of like head of this hotel area. Take a shot every time I've said the word hotel, if you're listening
Hotel,
to the podcast.
I know, right? Seriously.
She's she's like the head person at like a hotel sanctuary that you go to, like a home base area. Her name, I wish I were kidding when I say this, her name, keep in mind, she's like the second important character you meet in the game. Her character's name is Odessa Sawyer. Can we talk about this for a second? That's like naming a person Steel Gravel or like fucking, I don't even know, Napalm Justice or something. Odessa Sawyer. It's like they put like, I don't know, like stereotypical ridiculous like names into a hat, and they just pulled two of them out and they were like, all right, Odessa Sawyer, here we go. And like nobody on the writing team thought that name sounded ridiculous.
I mean, I guess not. I mean, I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be a callback to something. Like, you know, she's like African American in the game, and, you know, obviously there's themes of like, you know, politics and freedom and all these other things that kind of come into it. Not really overtly, because the Division doesn't really. The development team made kind of a big effort of saying, oh, we're kind of apolitical. We don't have a mission statement or anything. We're just making a game. Whether that's true or not, but I was like, God, is it some kind of callback? Or like, is it some kind of like, you know, Civil War sort of mention or something? Like, I wasn't sure if there was like a historical angle to that. I'm not sure.
I hope there is. And if you're listening and I'm the biggest fucking dumbass on the planet for getting this wrong and it is some kind of like big callback to something, please let me know so I can feel like less of a jerk or less of an idiot about this. I just feel like her name is so stereotypically silly that I just could not believe that it's like Odessa Sawyer. Like, it's just such a ridiculous sounding name to me, but hopefully I'm wrong and it actually does like call back to something and it has some importance. It just sounds incredibly silly to me.
Well, I don't have the answer to that. Hopefully somebody listening can let us know if they're kind of name checking something that we're not aware of. I mean, maybe that was like an important figure in the Civil War or something. I'm not a history buff, so I can't say, but I don't know. We'll see. But I'm sure that we will bring up the Division again. I mean, you're still working on the review, and we're going to try to get together multiple times, and we still have, it seems like still quite a bit of game to go, so I'm sure we will touch on this at some point in the future. But for now, let's move on. Corey, last week you talked about Left Alive, which was kind of the semi-catastrophic Metal Gear Solid wannabe that came from Square Enix. We didn't have a lot of good to say about it, but ironically, after we wrapped the show, I had come across a message on Twitter saying that the developers had heard a lot of the criticisms and that they had addressed some of the things that people were finding very distasteful about that game. So I forwarded that to you, and you were like, aha, let me give this one more shot before I send it back to Gamefly. Did you, in fact, do that? And is the game any better after these fixes and patches?
I did try it again, and for the record, it was literally like the day we recorded the last show. It was like the next day you sent me this thing, and I was like, oh man, it's a good thing I didn't put it in the mail yet because I was going to. I did play it again. So one of the big things that they patched in is they actually patched in an even easier game mode, which is kind of hilarious to me because they already had 4 difficulty settings. They had like really hard, normal, and easy. Those aren't the names of them, but that's what they mean. So they patched in an even easier mode, which, like, I don't know. I feel like if you need 5 difficulty settings, like maybe, I don't know, re-examine the way your game works. So because I was only like a half an hour in, I decided to just start the game over completely. I don't know if you can switch the difficulty level mid-game. I don't think you can. So I just went ahead and started all the way over. I started on the easiest difficulty level. Because I knew what I was doing out at the gate this time. I did not get shot down to 20% health at the very, starting 10 seconds of the game this time. I was able to run away from those enemies and get into the alleyway before they opened fire. And I am proud to announce that I did make it farther than I did the last time. I was able to get through the sewer system is where I perished last time. And I did use the Molotov cocktail again, and it actually worked this time. And I was able to get through that area. And something else that they patched in, and I don't know if they only patched this into the easiest mode or if it's like a thing in the game again, is I remember specifically talking at length last time about how the game gives you melee weapons, but it doesn't give you like an instant melee stealth kill option. You basically just like have to bludgeon people from the back of their head until they die. And the patch actually patches in. It's not a stealth kill option, like it's not a contextual stealth kill, but every enemy that I approached from behind, whenever they were on they were standing there, or they were on some kind of route, if I hit them once with the steel pipe, they would die immediately. So that was like kind of a nice thing. Not having to, because the weapons break, so not having to weaken the weapon with 3 hits per stealth kill. And also something else I noticed is that I don't know exactly what the threshold for dying is in the most casual game mode, but I got shot like a decent handful of times, and my health went down maybe like 5% over the course that I was playing. So I don't think the casual mode makes you invincible, but I will say that I got shot several times and my health like barely went down at all. So that's like already looking pretty good for me. I didn't realize it at the time, but because I didn't make it this far, but the game actually does I think it does like a dual chapter thing where it has 2 lead characters. You play as the male character for the first chapter, and then I got to the second chapter, and you take over as a female character, and she's like a cop who used to be ex-military, and she is like sort of going into this to like a city area, and it kind of still employs the same kind of stealth thing, and there's like hot zones and cool zones of the city, and I think her story focuses a little bit more on like escorting survivors to like safe zones. And I haven't actually played, I've only played about 20 minutes of her opening mission, so I haven't actually like really, like dig deep into her stuff. But I did make it that far, so that's good news. I have not died. I kind of have more of a grasp on like the game's systems, and the fact that it's easier is making the game a little bit better. But I mean, at the end of the day, I have to say that even though it's easier and it's less frustrating, and I can kill things in 1 hit for stealth kills, and I'm getting shot a handful of times and I'm not dying, the game still just feels like okay. Like, it being easier, I don't think is enough to like elevate it into any type of greatness or any type of something that I feel like I've played before, because it's one of those games that like it feels so similar to something like, and I said this last week, to something like Metal Gear or like Siphon Filter, that whenever I'm playing it, it just makes me want to go play those games because they're better and I'm already familiar with them and I already know how they work. And it's like, why would I play like the off brand of something that's newer just because it's new whenever I already know that something better exists prior to it. It just makes me want to go back and play those things. So I do think that Left Alive is significantly better. I mean, unless you're somebody who's like, wants to do all the challenges and wants it to be hard and realistic and whatever, then I mean, hey, maybe this is good for you. But if you're someone like me who started the game on the easiest difficulty level and still got shot to death in like 5 seconds, the even easier difficulty level, which is called casual, I believe, is pretty great because you get more ammo, you can get shot more, and you don't die as easily. The enemies, I think, are weaker and less alert, so it can definitely like make the game a lot easier to play. But I'm just not convinced that it being easier makes it any better. It makes it less frustrating, but I don't think it really makes the game itself any better.
Fair enough. I mean, it's interesting that they did that, and I think that's good. I mean, more options are always better, and I mean, I can certainly remember many games where they were not good, but they were easy enough to play that they didn't really resist too much, and so I could kind of just roll through them and finish them, whereas if there had been too much difficulty, they were already kind of a bad game, so I wouldn't have put up with the difficulty and it being a bad game, so maybe people will get through it. But I mean, one question, I mean, I haven't heard you mention this, so I'm assuming you haven't gotten there, but since this game is set in the Front Mission universe, and Front Mission is known for being about mech suits and robots and stuff, I do know for a fact that at some point in this game, you do either steal a mech suit, or you commandeer a mech suit, or you get one somehow, and then it is as if you are inside Metal Gear controlling that thing around. Did you ever get to those parts at all?
At the end of the very first mission, there is a section where there is a mech that's broken down, and you get into the cockpit and you shoot its like machine gun and its shoulder missiles and stuff. Because the mech is broken down, you don't actually move it around, but it's kind of like a fun, like overpowered turret section where you're shooting waves of enemies and like tanks and stuff. So I've done that, but I have not gotten to a part where you're actually fully piloting like a mobile mech on the ground.
Okay, I was just wondering if that part, if you had gotten to it, like, would that part be interesting? I mean, I think it's probably they're relying on the Front Mission hook to kind of differentiate itself even more from Metal Gear, because, I mean, I think you can have, like, little robot buddies or something, or little, like, gun turrets and stuff. When I played Metal Gear Survive, and I think I saw something like that in Metal Gear Solid 5, but I mean, as far as I know, you never really took control of, like, a big-on, full, I mean, there was, like, one battle where you, like, controlled Metal Gear, right? Like, was that Metal Gear? Whatever. Anyway, I think maybe one point in the whole series, but it's not a mech series, whereas this one is primarily a mech series, so I was just wondering if that part might have saved it for you, or if it was interesting or good, but if you haven't gotten there yet, I guess you don't know the answer.
It's true.
All right. Well, there is our Left Alive update. Seems like it's not good enough for you to continue, is my guess.
Yeah, that's probably... I haven't mailed it back to Gamefly yet, but I need to. But I don't really anticipate playing this anymore.
Okay, that's kind of what it sounded like, so no big deal. Let's move on real quick. Let me take over for a minute here. Just a quick update on Sekiro, however you want to pronounce that. Talked about it last episode. The new third-person action game from FromSoft, the makers of Dark Souls. Everybody knows this already. Putting more time into it, I'm probably maybe... I've got to be at least 15 hours into it by now, at least, if not more. And I just wanted to give a quick update. Everything I said last week still stands. I still think the ninja parts are really interesting and fun. I like the grappling hook is good. And I think that just exploring and backstabbing guys is solid, and I enjoy that part. But I got to a couple bosses where it was just really frustrating. And I've talked to a number of people since getting frustrated. I was kind of asking for tips and seeing how people got through it and so forth and so on. And I'm just really convinced. I mean, I said this last episode, but I am like double convinced that it's all just about reaction times. I was talking to a friend of mine, William. Hey, William, if you're listening, hello. And he was saying that his son had finished the entire game, and his son was like 11. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I mean, FromSoft is famous for having difficult games, you know? And if an 11-year-old can whip through this, I mean, 11-year-olds have really fucking fast reflexes, dude. Have you ever tried to play a first-person shooter with 11-year-old? They kick your ass. Like, they're faster than you. Just straight up faster. Biologically faster, you know? Same thing with some other people that I talked to who I am older than all of them. It seemed like people who were like dudes in their 20s that I know had no problem, or at least were able to manage it and weren't really complaining about it too much. And people like me who are in their 40s or maybe who had other issues going on, just really tired all the time or don't have a lot of time to practice or whatever, we're having a lot of difficulty with it because a lot of these bosses just kind of boil down to being really rapid fire QTEs, or like as friend Gene Park said on Twitter, they're kind of like rock paper scissors bosses, and if you're not fast enough with your reaction times, you can't see if they're throwing a rock, a paper, or scissors, and so it kind of just comes down to luck of the draw, which is not a good way to fight a boss. So I don't know what I'm going to do. FromSoft just put out a balance patch. Everybody was like, oh, balance patch. Oh, what happened? Because of all the discourse that's going on. The discourse in capital letters. And I looked it over. It didn't really seem to me like anything that would really address the problems that anybody had. It was like, oh, this one enemy drops this item more frequently, and this other item poisons like 1% faster. I mean, it seemed like really minor stuff. Like none of it was really like, now there's an easy mode or anything like that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm still playing it, and I don't want to say that I'm like hate playing it. Like, I don't think it's a hate play, not yet anyway. But it's definitely kind of keeping me at a distance. I don't feel as committed to it as I have felt with previous Souls games, and I'm not enjoying it as much as previous Souls games because it's just, I have fun and then I get to a boss and then I just stop having fun. And it's kind of like this really hot and cold experience. So I'm still making my way through it. I still kind of am enjoying it. I wish I had faster reflexes, or I wish that they would just fucking slow things down and chill out a little bit to let more people get into this game. I'm not writing it off, but I'm not celebrating it either. It's not on my top 10. I have no illusions that it will be on my top 10. No way. But hopefully I'll be able to finish it. I want to at least finish it. If I don't, this will be the first FromSoft game in like many years that I haven't finished, which will be a weird thing for me because I've been a fan of theirs for a long time. But we shall see. So not really much of an update. I'm still putting time into it, and it seems like this is going to be a pretty long game, especially with how slow I'm going. So I will definitely not talk about it every single episode, but I just had to talk about something, and that's what I put a lot of time into this week. So there is my update on Sekiro, whatever. Thoughts, feelings, ideas, Corey?
Last week I had a galactic turnaround on thinking that I never ever wanted to play this game, and then we talked a little bit more about it, and then I decided that, hey, maybe I do want to play this game. And like the stuff that you're saying right now is basically the reasons why I don't think I would like this game. Like, I'm definitely still like pretty interested. Like, I will gamefly it and I will give it a shot. But just like knowing what you say about like, the game itself, and like I trust your judgment on it, and you're definitely more in tune with like these kinds of games and with From Software than I am. I just like I just feel like I'm not gonna like this, but I will. Oh, woe is me, I'll take one for the team and try this game that I rent for a week or something. But I just like feel like I'm not going to like it. But I'm still committed to trying. A week ago, I was not committed to trying at all. But then I came out of the show committed. And then you come back to the show this week and you say a bunch of mean things about it. But I'm still committed to trying.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be your jam. But I mean, you really liking Ninja Gaiden was really kind of out of left field. Like I wouldn't normally say that was your kind of game, considering that we usually talk about like, emotional games or walking sims and stuff like that, horror games. So it was kind of weird to me that you liked Ninja Gaiden. I didn't see that coming. So I think there may be some shared DNA like we mentioned last week, but I mean, it's like, just try it. Just try it and see what you think. I think that there will be probably parts of it that you like, but there's a lot of stuff that I think is just really kind of just off base about it. And the more I play this game, the more I look at it, I think the bottom line is that the developers have set very arbitrary goalposts about how well they think you need to be performing in terms of attacking, countering, and dodging. And in previous games, they would give you ways to mitigate that. I mean, I've said that before, like you could get better armor, you could get stronger swords, you could get more different life items, you could be a different build, you could call a friend in. Like there was all these different options you had as a player to help get you through the parts that were tough for you, but a lot of those are not here, and I feel like they just have set those goalposts really high just for reasons. Like I don't see any reason why it needs to be this fast or this hard. I think it's just kind of just get good, you know? And I don't think that's a good philosophy for designing a game. I don't think it's a good way to put a game out there. I mean, you know, no one's forcing them to do anything, but I genuinely think that they would do better and they would get a lot more positive press if they would just like put in an option that slowed everybody down by 2.5 milliseconds. Like, I think it would help a lot. So I'm not a big fan of the whole arbitrary dick measuring where you either make the cut or you don't, and that's kind of where I feel like this game lands. I'm not a fan of that, but give it a shot. Like I said, if you can play Ninja Gaiden, this game is not as hard as Ninja Gaiden. I think that is harder and worse. So you may like it, you may not, but at least you can say you gave it a shot.
Yes, I mean, that's all we can ever do in life is give it a shot.
Very true. But speaking of ninjas, and specifically speaking of Ninja Gaiden, you went back to it after our discussion last week. What is going on? So first of all, tell us, number one, what system, exactly which version of Ninja Gaiden were you playing? And I mean, it must have been because we talked about it. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that made you go back to that game out of nowhere. So tell us all about it, Corey.
Okay, well, it's partially because we talked about it. I noticed that on the Twitters, I don't remember if it was Xbox or if it was Major Nelson or if it was whoever posting about it, but they made Ninja Gaiden 2, which was an Xbox 360 game, backwards compatible on the Xbox One. And something that I always do, I don't know why I do this, every time a game that I own, because I own the second one, becomes backwards compatible on the Xbox One from the Xbox 360, I will like put it in and I will install it and I will play some of it as if I think playing an Xbox 360 game on the Xbox One is going to like radically change it in any way. And the same thing happens every single time. I put the game in, I install it, I pick up the controller, I turn it on, I play about a half an hour of the game, and I say, yeah, this is exactly the way that I remember it, and I played enough. It's not magically different in any way, so I'll just turn it off now. And that's like, I do this with so many games. I don't know. I mean, at least like on the flip side, the Xbox One X, which is like the newer, faster, better, like 4K capable Xbox, some Xbox 360 backwards compatible games have been like super 4K up-resed on the Xbox One X, which is something I'm actually pretty interested in because, to be frank, games being prettier is a reason for me to play them. Like, I'm not going to lie about that. That's why sometimes I'll play games on PC that I have played on console before because they generally look better on PC, or at least on my PC. But the shitty thing is that I don't own an Xbox One X. I have a launch era Xbox One, which, I mean, you know, is all well and good. But I do have a 4K TV now, and I do have a PlayStation Pro, so I could take advantage of all the 4K. Oh, excuse me. That was LaCroix burp. All of the 4K stuff on the PlayStation 4 Pro, but I can't, like, I don't get any extra, like, capabilities of games on the Xbox One with the 4K TV because they only do that stuff on the Xbox One X, which is a little bit sad, but I mean, here we are. I'm not going to buy an Xbox One X, so just to play Splinter Cell Blacklist in 4K, I'm not really concerned about that. So, but I did, kind of around the same time we were talking about Sekiro and Ninja Gaiden last week, they announced that the second one was backwards compatible on the Xbox One now. So I did the same thing I always do. I put it in, I installed it, I played it. But it was just kind of timely in the fact that we've been talking about it. And I played, I think, about 3 missions, the 3 opening missions. And I mean, like, I feel like I don't really have a lot to say. I mean, it still feels as good as I remember it feeling. It's incredibly silly. I don't know if I said this last time. I don't know if people already know this. The Ninja Gaiden games are so silly. Like, literally, the first thing that happens in the second one is, I can't even remember her name right now. I think it's Rachel. No, I think Rachel is the demon hunter. There's a woman, Sonia. I don't know what her name is. She's, like, in one of the shops that you shop at. How much more dumb can I make this story? She's, like, there's, like, an old guy who runs these shops, and it's kind of like an upgrade center in the game. and she's like in one of his shops in like Tokyo or something, and like asking the shop owner about where Ryu Hayabusa is, and Ryu is the main character. And it's just like such like a stereotypical like silly Japanese depiction of like a white woman, because she's like this white girl. She allegedly works for the CIA. She's wearing like basically like a leather S&M outfit. It's like a leather leotard. Her breasts are like double H's, and of course they're perfectly round with no sag in sight. They're perky and held up. They're in this like ridiculous leather outfit that's like unzipped almost down to her belly button. It's just like, is that standard CIA issue uniform? I find that hard to believe, but it's basically just like big titty ninja action, and it's just like incredibly silly. But obviously I don't come to Ninja Gaiden for the stories, because they're dumb. They're about ninjas and demons taking over the earth, and you have to cut all their heads off and win, and that's the end of the game. But the game basically feels as good as I remember it. It's quick, it's fast, it's hard, but not super hard yet. I know it'll get harder later, but I just feel like I can keep up with it in a way. Something that I really like about Ninja Gaiden 2, that the first one / Black, which was kind of like a remake of the first one on Xbox, kind of lacked, is that there's a big variation in weapons in the second one, but you have to kind of collect them over the course of the game, because you start with your dragon sword, and then in the middle of the first mission you get the lunar staff, and then you get like double dragon swords, and then you get like the big scythe that's kind of like your slow heavy weapon. You get like the claws after a while, where you have like 2 claws on your hands and 2 claws on your feet. They're like talons that you can fight with. And I just really like the variation of weapons. And it gets better as you get later in the game, because you get more. And you can like pretty much switch like more or less on the fly of what you're using. And I just appreciate like the different weapon types and being able to use them. It's a lot better than being stuck with like 1 or 2 swords over the course of the game. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I'm probably not going to continue playing it, because I've been there and I've done that. And like I said, I do this every time an Xbox game becomes backwards compatible. I put it in, I play it for maybe a half an hour to an hour, and then I stop. And this is pretty much no exception. I mean, it looks good on my 4K TV, but like I said, I don't have an Xbox One X, so it's not like up-resed in any way that I can tell. I think it still looks pretty much the same as it did on the Xbox 360. That being said, it looks good. Like, the Ninja Gaiden games have always been incredibly well done to me, like, graphically. But yeah, I like it. It's still fast. It's still furious. I don't really know what else to say. I'm enjoying it, but I've already played all of it, so I probably will not finish it. But it's nice to know that it's there and that it's backwards compatible if I ever want to play it again.
Fair enough. Good to know that it is backward compatible. Although I have no love of Ninja Gaiden, and I will probably never touch this again. It is good to know that you can go back and play some stuff that you have already purchased, or that, just backwards compatibility in general is a pretty cool thing, even if you don't use it all the time, even if it's not always something that you spend a lot of time on. I think that it's nice. It's nice just for many reasons. You can revisit an old favorite. You can try something you've heard about but never had a chance to try. You keep old software alive in terms of like building up a library, or for research, or for archival purposes. So I definitely support the backwards compatibility. I'm down with that for sure, even if I am not down with Team Ninja. So anyway, sounds good. Sounds good. Now I have one more game to talk about really briefly, but before we do that, you've been revisiting another game that you had dabbled in the past, and we are really living up to the whole something old, something new, something anything in between, or whatever it is our catchphrase is. I can't remember right now, but yeah, man, you're going back to Resident Evil 7, which we talked about a while ago. You've already played through it. I know you were a fan. What made you get back into that? Where did you dig that out of?
I don't even know. I just had like a long weekend, and I had a 3-day weekend, and I was convinced there's like once a year that I replay Silent Hill 2, and I thought this was going to be the weekend that I was doing it, because the weekend that I was going to do it, because I didn't really have any like plans, and I thought, I can probably like knock this out in a couple of sittings, because every once in a while you just like have, I don't know, just like those moments where you have that like one old game that you play like once a year. And I don't know, I guess I kind of played Resident Evil 7 like in lieu of Silent Hill 2 a little bit. I'm not comparing the two, they're both horror games, but Silent Hill 2 is way better than Resident Evil 7. But I just kind of remembered that I had it, and remembered that I had the there's a a DLC where you play as Chris Redfield called Not a Hero that came out about maybe 6 months after the game came out. And I've already played it before. I've actually talked about it on the show before. I think it's a very good DLC. But the thing that I really like about DLC, like episodic chapters for video games, is that you can get like the full flavor of the video game, but just like condensed down into a shorter version of it. And I didn't play all of the Not a Hero DLC. I played a little bit of the main campaign, and then I played a little bit of the Not a Hero DLC, and I might finish it. But it was just like one of those weird things where I was just kind of bored over the weekend. I didn't really want to start anything new. I kind of wanted to play, just kind of dabble in some old stuff. And so I played Ninja Gaiden 2 a little bit. I played Resident Evil 7 a little bit. I also played, which will come as a surprise to nobody, Deus Ex Human Revolution on the PC a little bit, which I told Brad that I played, and he very rudely left it off of the script because he doesn't want to hear me talk about it for the 600th time.
And you worked it in anyway. You brought it up anyway. You got it in.
Yeah, so it was just a weird weekend. It was a long weekend. I felt like playing some old games. I have absolutely nothing new or captivating to say about Resident Evil 7 other than I think it's very good. I still think the story is awful. I know that, like, I feel like I'm in the minority of this game where, like, when it came out, everybody was, like, talking about how amazing the story was and how it was a real different direction for the series, which that's true. Like, this game is unlike any other game in the Resident Evil series because it's not really like a zombies in a mansion game. It's not like a zombies taking over the city. It's not even a zombie game. Like, there are no zombies to be detected in this game. But the story is just dumb. Like, I don't want to, like, rehash all of it. I've talked about it on the show probably more than once. I've written a big old second opinion review on Game Critics. If you're new to the show and you're wondering why I think the game's story is garbage, please just look it up on Game Critics. I wrote a big thing about it. I just think the story's really stupid. I mean, like, one of the first things that happens in the game is the main character gets his hand sawn off with a chainsaw. And then, like, it gets, like, stapled back on, and, like, the people who live in this, like, family put this, like, magic, I don't know, like, juice on your hand, and it, like, makes your hand, like, go back on, but he still has the staples in it, and there's still, like, a cut, but his hand still works, and if they have magic juice that makes your hand magically reattach to your body, then why do you get injured over the course of the game and have to use first aid kit? It's just like, oh my god, it's like a spiraling, like, nonsense, like, ugh, the story is so stupid, and, like, the lip syncing is really bad. I know that's a dumb thing to complain about, but, like, it came out in, like, 2017, the lip syncing for the characters is awful, and because it was a VR exclusive on PS4, it does a bunch of, like, hokey, in-your-face VR stuff that's totally ineffective. If you're not playing on VR, probably wouldn't be effective if I were on VR. Anyway, but it's just like really hokey and it's really silly, and I don't think the story was handled well at all. You have to suspend your disbelief, like, to the moon and back in order for me to really appreciate the story. I just could not get on board with it. But that being said, much like The Division, oddly enough, I'm bringing this show full circle. The moment-to-moment gameplay is very good. It's pretty spectacular. I just cannot get invested in the story to save my life. But yeah, again, don't have anything new or shining or no new revelations about Resident Evil, which is funny because Revelations is a Resident Evil brand. But it's still good. The moment-to-moment gameplay is well done, and I just wanted to dabble in it a little bit, so I played it some more.
Fair enough. I still have a copy sitting on my desk, but I have not cracked it yet because, you know me and scary games. It takes a lot for me to get into a scary game, and I think that Resident Evil 2 may be it for me this year. That may be my one scary game for the year. I may have checked that box, but we'll see. I'm curious about it. I mean, I've heard your take on it, obviously, and I've heard a lot of other people, and it seems like something I should at least try just to see, like, what they were doing differently. I mean, historically, I've played almost all the Resident Evil games, so I'm very familiar with the franchise, but we shall see. We've only got one more game to go before we wrap it up here. And speaking of zombies, or not zombies, I guess, no zombies in Resident Evil 7, but there are zombies in the game that I'm about to talk about called Undead's Building. This is a very small, feels like an extremely low budget game that probably came out of, I mean, it must be Japan, I'm guessing. It feels kind of Japanese in a certain way. I'm just guessing on that, though. It's out on the Switch. I don't know if it's out on anything else, and it is something I had heard about like maybe 2 weeks before it came out, and I was excited to pick it up. And basically, I mean, I don't even know where to even begin with this game, but it's like you are playing an elevator operator. And number one, I realize that there are no such thing as elevator operators anymore. That is not a job that exists anymore. But it was historically a job in the past. You play inside of like a security room, and you're looking at different TV screens, and each TV screen shows you a different lobby in your building. So in the beginning building, you're in a 5-story building. So you've got 5 TV screens that each show the lobby of like floor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are zombies in the building. I don't know why. We don't learn why. I don't think it's even really important why. Zombies are just there. And as you go through the different cameras, sometimes you'll just see like an empty floor with zombies wandering around. No big deal. But then sometimes you'll see like a survivor banging on the elevator door. And you're like, oh, there's somebody on floor 3. So then you push a button, send the elevator to floor 3, open the elevator doors, let that person get in. And then by the time that you rescue that person, there's more than likely somebody on floor 5. And so you go up to floor 5, and then, oh, there's somebody down at floor 2. And so you like work the elevator up and down, and you got to get there in time to open the door for these people to let them into the elevator before the zombies get them. And you can see the zombies kind of like slowly coming in. You've got a little bit of time to get there. And in the first level, let's say, for example, there's like 20 survivors. I think in my first attempt, I rescued like maybe like 17 of them. I think I was too late for 3, but that's a pretty good ratio, I think. Unless you are one of those 3, then it's a really bad ratio. But that's basically that's basically all you do. You like run the elevator up and down. You jump back and forth between pushing the elevator buttons and pushing the camera button to look at what's going on, and then you just hopefully you get people in. It was such a bizarre, weird, off the wall idea. I just had to play it. And it is, I mean, it's funny and it's interesting for a few minutes, but like there's not a lot to it, and the budget is really low. Like I was hoping for like funny writing, I don't know, B-movie sort of a thing, but there's almost no dialogue in the game. And as you're rescuing survivors, you end up picking up the same people over and over and over because they couldn't be bothered to make different character models. And so I've picked up the same buxom blonde like 9 times in the same mission. Like literally, like they look like, non-tuplets or whatever it is that you call a mom that has 9 kids that are all twins. And so like that's really all there is to it. I mean, I think I haven't gotten very far into it. I played it last night before I went to bed because I wanted something to talk about on the show. And I mean, I'll go back to it and I'll try it a couple more times, but it seems more of like a gimmicky idea that somebody like kind of turned into a game really quickly rather than something that is a full-fledged experience. Seems very bare bones. There's no real bells or whistles or features, and the graphics are super basic and simple. I mean, kind of a funny idea. I think I bought it for like $2 or something like that, and I don't regret it. I think just for the novelty alone, it's worth the $2. But I don't see this having legs, and I probably will be done with it by the end of the day. So it's out there. It's a thing that exists. It's kind of funny. Probably more fun to hear me talk about it than actually play it, but it's still is kind of a thing that's there. So Undead's Building, it's on the Switch. If I have somehow randomly sold you on this game. So, Corey, thoughts, feelings?
I have actually I haven't played it, but I've seen this on the Switch shop. And every time I see it, it's kind of like whenever I bought Fear Effects Sedna. Like, it's one of those games where every time I see it on sale, I'm like, this looks kind of hokey enough to play. And then I'm like, but I probably wouldn't like it, so I don't really want to waste my time. And that kind of thought process hits me like, I feel like pretty much every time I see it on the Switch shop. It just looked really silly, kind of like a weird mix between like Lifeline and Resident Evil in a way. But I'm glad. I mean, I guess I'm glad that I haven't bought it, which sounds kind of rude. But I'm glad that you're here to be the guinea pig for the show and kind of come back and report that it is kind of silly and there is perhaps not much value to it.
Yeah, it's totally like one of those gimmicks where it's like you play it and you're like, oh, this is hilarious. And then like 5 minutes go by and you're like, oh, okay, this is all it is. Okay, whatever. And then you just kind of like move on. So, I mean, whatever. I don't regret it, and it's goofy and it's funny, but yeah, it's. I mean, I think probably if I put 1 solid hour into it, I think I probably would be done with it after that. So, anyway, Undead's Building. There you go. That was our, I think, probably the only legitimately new game we talked about in this episode. This has been kind of a dabbling episode for So Video Games, but we tell you up front, like I said earlier, it's old stuff, new stuff, anything in between, and that really lived we walked our talk. We lived our life. We proved that motto to be true this episode. But now we are at the end of another show. Thank you all very much for listening, folks. We will be back next week with another episode. But before we wrap up, we are giving away more games. That is the thing that is going to continue. That is the thing that is now happening for the foreseeable future. I'm not going to announce exactly the titles that are up for grabs, but you will get at least 3 separate PC games. But I will say the platform. It's going to be PC this week. So if you are listening to the show and you feel like you need 3 more PC games in your life, enter. Just email us if you want a chance to win. Your odds are really good. And if you win, I will send you 3 PC games of my choosing. How do you enter? Same way you send us your comments, thoughts, feedback, ideas, and anything else. Hit us up, sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com. Tell us that you want to win 3 free PC games, or if you want to share your thoughts, one email address does it all. Aside from that, you can also post comments for us at gamecritics.com after the show goes up. We are on Twitter as a show collectively at SoVideoGames, but you can reach us individually. I am on Twitter and Instagram, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's. Corey, where are you on social media?
I am also found on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is also my first and last name. It is, for both platforms, Corey Motley, CoreyMotley. And also, I just want to say, if you want to enter for the game's giveaway, don't be afraid to. I think both people last week that emailed us said, hey, long-time listener, first-time commenter. And that's totally fine. Like, I am actually that person, too. Like, I listen to podcasts and I watch YouTube videos. And I have, like, I would consider myself a dedicated follower to, like, a select handful of people on, like, YouTube and, like, podcasts. And I'm usually not one to comment either, or, like, write comments or email the show or anything. But so yeah, don't feel bad if you're one of those people. Like, you don't have to, like, email us every week to, like, prove that you're a fan of the show or that you're a listener. Like, we honestly don't care. So even if you're a long-time listener, first-time commenter, even if you're short-time listener, first-time commenter, by all means, feel free to reach out with any feedback, any comments, or if you want to enter the game giveaway, by all means, don't be afraid to do that.
Absolutely. Whether you are listening to our voices for the very first time, or if you've been with us from the Game Critics podcast days, or, if you've been a follower of GameCritics.com for 20 years, doesn't matter. We love you all. Thank you all for being here. I mean, just enter. Just enter. That's all it is. We just want to do something nice. I got a lot of games to give away. Simple as that. So don't feel like you need to, like, prove your cred or earn anything. I mean, this is just a fun thing we're doing, and everybody is welcome. So please enter. But that is going to do it for us this week. Thank you again for joining us for So Video Games. Stick around after the music for the non-video games banter if you are so inclined. If not, no hard feelings. We will catch you next time. And this is bye from Brad.
And bye from Corey. We will see you guys next week.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. I am freezing. It is fucking April 22nd. It is almost May, and I am, like, my feet are, like, ice cold right now, and I'm wearing this sweater, and I'm like, the sweater's kind of keeping me warm. Hands are freezing. Tip of my nose is cold. It's like I'm standing outside in fucking December. It's ridiculous.
Do you want me to tell you how warm it is in New Orleans right now?
Is it above 90?
No, absolutely not. No.
Oh, how warm is it?
78 degrees.
I mean, that's super balmy, dude. That sounds pretty comfortable, man. Like, I'd be out in shorts in 78 degrees, man. What are you wearing right now? What are you wearing, Corey?
Well, I've already, because I got home from work, so I've already, like, transitioned into, like, loungewear for the day, which might be, I might go run some errands later, but right now I'm wearing a white t-shirt, V-neck t-shirt, which I wore under my dress shirt at work today, and I'm wearing, like, I call them sweat pant shorts, but really they're just sweat shorts, if you will.
Sweat shorts. That sounds cozy and comfortable. And are you at a comfortable body temperature? Like, do you feel comfortable in your environment?
Yeah, we have the AC on right now, and it was set to either 73 73 or 72, and I actually turned it up a degree whenever I came in here to
Oh my God.
to record, because I was a little bit cold in my 73-degree house right now. How sad for me, right?
Jesus. Yeah, I don't, global warming's not a thing, I guess. I don't know. It's not real. According to the Republicans, it's not a real thing.
Oh my God.
But, yeah, I mean, I got a pile of dead bees in my front yard and I'm freezing my ass off in the middle of fucking April. So I think that maybe it is a thing. But anyway, I have, we have kind of been off track the last couple of weeks, dude, with like short shows and real, erratic shows, and haven't been following our usual routine. But today I think is going to be a good usual routine. I have multiple banter topics. I'm assuming you probably do too.
I think I have some things.
Have you brought that little notebook around with you to like write down banter topics throughout the week yet?
I have not, but I have a little bit of TV and a little bit of life stuff, and I think I'm perhaps adequately prepared.
All right, what do you want to do first? You go first. Do you want to talk about life? You want to talk about TV?
Let's talk about life for a second. This really isn't, I say life, but it's not really like, I'm not like moving or, got a new job or anything. I want to talk about, so every once in a while, this is actually a story about Patrick. Every once in a while, and I say every once in a while, and I mean like this has happened like twice in the past like 5 years, so I pretend like it happens every month. But let's just, for the sake of storytelling, let's say every once in a while, he'll do this thing where he'll like buy something that's kind of expensive and kind of silly, and it's usually like technology based. And the first example of this was a few years ago. He bought, I think it was on Kickstarter. I think he kickstarted it or paid for the Kickstarter of this like. And forgive me if I've talked about this on the show before. Please just tell me that I have. But he bought this like robot arm thing.
What? No, you've never talked about this. I would remember Patrick's robot arm. Did he lose a real arm? Did he have an amputation?
I realized as soon as I said that what I said is not really what I meant, but it's like, so it's not like an arm. It's not like a prosthetic arm or like a robot arm in that regard. It's like, it's kind of like it's like a robot arm you like set on a table. It has like a base and it has like.
Oh, I know.
Like,
okay, wait. Go to Google and look up Armatron. Does it look like that?
Armatron. Hold on. Let me Google this real quick.
I know, this is super exciting podcasting. We're going to bring visuals into this. Sorry, folks, but we got to get clear. Got to get clear on Patrick's robot arm.
Armatron is a brand of watch. What are you talking about?
No, it's a toy from the 80s.
Oh, what am I supposed to type in?
ARMA.
80s toy.
Yeah, like robot toy or something.
Oh my god. Robot toy, enter. I mean, if you took like an Armatron, but it looked like it was actually made for adults and computers and not for like small children, like it's not far off. It's like, it has like a base and it has like arm pieces and it has like different joints that it can move at. I'm sure if I could like find it on Kickstarter or something and send it to you, but it's like a legitimate thing. Like it's like an actual robot arm. And like his whole thing was, because he's like kind of into like programming every once in a while, and he has a Raspberry Pi, which is one of those like little computer things. You know what that is? Yeah. So, and at a certain point, like every once in a while, he'll get into this thing where like he even like thought about like using his Raspberry Pi at a certain point to like program, like to like I'm not gonna get this right, but like build some kind of contraption where he could like have it like next to one of the vents in one of the bedrooms, and it could like, he could like program it so it would like open and close the vent at certain times on its own. It's just like little things like that. But he bought a robot arm like a few years ago, and he like had this idea like, oh well, I can use the Raspberry Pi and I can use the computer and I can use the robot arm, and he could just like, I don't even know what he wanted to do with it, like make it do things or program it to like I don't know. It's like that woman on the internet that builds the bad robots. Like, it's like her.
Oh, wait.
things.
I don't even know what you're even talking about. What? What is this?
Oh,
is this a porn thing?
I cannot. No. It's not a porn thing at all. She's like this female engineer from like Sweden or something, and she's hilarious. And she recently just had like a brain tumor removed, and it was like a big thing. I cannot remember her name, and it pisses me off because I follow her on Twitter, and she's so funny. But if you just like get on YouTube and search like bad robot woman or something, I mean, hopefully that won't return a bunch of porn hits. But
I think that will return a bunch of porn hits.
But she's really funny, and she builds like really stupid robots, like where she'll like build a robot that's supposed to like feed her cereal, and she's like sitting at her desk reading a book, and the robot arm like hits her in the face with the spoon or something. It's like, it's hilarious. She does like really funny stuff, and like his robot arm is kind of similar to that in the sense that you can like kind of program it to do whatever you want. But I'm getting off on a tangent because the story is not actually about the robot arm, and I'm
like digging this tangent, dude. This is a rich tangent. I'm loving this.
Like, I don't know how I could sneak by thinking I could just mention robot arm and then move on to the next topic.
Yeah, that was poor judgment on your part. You knew we were going to spend a half an hour on this, regardless.
But I mean, the long story short about the robot arm is that he basically bought it and like assembled it and then like did nothing with it. Like he didn't really like program it. He didn't really do anything. So it's been like sitting in a cabinet. So every time he like talks about buying something expensive, it's like the one thing that I'll never let go. And I'll be like, oh, like the robot arm you bought? And, you know, because I like know he's never going to do anything with it. So the new thing that he bought that's like a, I don't know, like a big technological marvel or whatever, he bought a 3D printer for the house.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, yeah. And so he'd been like researching them for a long time, and he like wanted to buy one. And I don't know where he bought it from. I don't know if there's some like 3D printing like catalog, or I really don't know. I know he ordered it online and it came in the mail. So he bought a 3D printer, and to his credit, when he was doing his master's program, he took a class that was about 3D printing at the University of Missouri. So, like, he actually has, like, a small background in, like, 3D printing programming. He didn't, like, totally come to it, like, completely new. You know, he's kind of been there and done that and has, like, a small shelf of, like, little knickknacks that he's 3D printed before during the class. But he, like, decided that he wanted to, like, buy, like, a legitimate 3D printer. So, like, behind me, I'm turning in my chair right now, if you imagine me in So Video Game Studios Southeast. Behind me on this cabinet where we used to have a big TV that we never used, there's like this 3D printer, and I don't really know how to explain it. It's kind of like, it's just like a little table piece where like the printing like happens.
Sure.
And then there's like a U-shaped, like it's like two arms and like a tower on the top, and then like the 3D printing thing can like go back and forth across the bottom of the U because it like has like a pinpoint thing that it uses to like deposit like the resin or whatever. And so he like hooked it up, and he just got it like a few nights ago, and he like hooked it up to the computer, and he was like watching YouTube videos on like tips and tricks on how to like build it and link it and everything. And the 3D printer came with like a test, sort of like, oh, here's your new 3D printer. Like, here's a test thing that you can print to make sure it's like working okay. And it's like this little statue of like a dog, and it's really cute. It's kind of like a cartoon-looking dog, and he's kind of like sitting down, and he has like big eyes, and he's really adorable. And so he like gets everything done, and he like starts the process of 3D printing this dog. And like I've never, like, obviously I know what a 3D printer is, but I've never like seen really one in action or anything, so I didn't know like really what to expect. And so it starts printing this thing, and basically, like, you know, it starts from the bottom up because it kind of has to. Like, it starts with the basest base layer, and it just kind of, like, keeps building on itself until it builds the thing, whatever the thing you program it in that it's supposed to build. And I don't know who decided that this was a good, like, test object to do, but, like, the base that the little dog stands on is, like, way bigger than it needs to be for, like, the dog figure that's on it. And just the base, we're not even talking about getting to the paws, getting to the legs of the dog, just the base took like 8 hours to complete on the 3D printer. And every 30 minutes we would like open the door and come back in the spare bedroom and be like, okay, where's it at now? And it was like a quarter of the base was done. And then like 2 hours later, it was like half the base is done. And then 2 hours later, and like finally the top of the base was like about to be done. And it's just like in the bedroom, like doing its own thing. And it kind of smells like burnt plastic a little bit whenever it's doing it, because it's like hot resin that it like squirts out and everything. And so I'm like in here editing photos and like watching a movie or something like late at night the other night, and it's just kind of like doing its thing behind me. And one thing, like a byproduct of it, is that it makes a little bit of noise. It's not obnoxious, and you can't really hear it if you have like the door shut. But at certain points, whenever it was like making the bass, just like the movements that the little arm thing was making, kind of made it sound like that it was playing a song, which I thought was pretty magical. It was like, let me sing you the song of my people, says the 3D printer as it's like printing this bass. And I haven't posted a video, but I did take a video of it because I wanted to like capture like the beautiful song that it was singing. And so like I get ready to go to bed, and of course it's like 5 o'clock in the morning or something because I was staying up ridiculously late. And I like give it one last look, and at this point it's been about maybe like 10 and a half hours. It's been just like continuously printing this thing. And it's like, it's looking pretty good. And it's like 80% done. Like most of the dog is there. It's kind of like up to the eyeball area. And it like looks good. I was actually like impressed. I was not impressed with how long it took because I didn't really know like how long it was supposed to take. But it looked good, and it looked like it was doing the job. And so I go to bed, I get up the next day, and I wasn't even thinking about it at all. And I like go in the living room, and Patrick's like reading on the couch or something. And he was like, yeah, the 3D printer messed up the figure last night. And I was like, what? And so it got like 90% of the way done. And I guess like somehow it like the figurine like shifted on because the base is glass, and apparently like it didn't print glass, but the figure sits on a pane of glass is what I mean to say. And like apparently like it shifted in a certain way, or like it got jostled. Like I don't know how it happened. It's just some kind of like error on the 3D printer's part, and it like messed up the top of it. So the dog was missing like the top like quarter of his head, and it had all of these like stringy like resin pieces like coming off of the top of his head. And I was just like, wow. Like obviously, you know, there's going to be some trial and error with the 3D printer. You don't just press a button and it like magically makes like, you know, like an arm for you or like a prosthetic leg or something. But like just the fact that it took like probably like 12 hours straight of like making this figure, and then it like fucked up at like the 11th hour whenever we were both sleeping. We had the door shut, like the cats didn't get in here and mess it up. It was like totally on its own, just doing its own thing, and it messed it up. And then he tried to print something smaller the next day that was only like a 30-minute project, and like the same thing happened, and it like shifted somehow.
Seriously?
Yeah. And so, and I guess there's like solutions for it. Like one of the solutions he found, which I think is creative and hilarious and actually very applicable, is that apparently you can spray hairspray on the glass base, and then once it starts printing the thing, like it will make the thing stick so that it won't shift on the base, because once it shifts, like you're kind of fucked. And like it's not supposed to shift, but like it's apparently a thing that happens if like it slides on the base even a little bit, because the computer is not smart enough to like acclimate to the figure moving. Right. It just prints where it's supposed to print.
Sure. Totally.
Yeah, and so, like, I guess there's, like, a hairspray trick where you can, like, spray the thing with hairspray, and then once it starts printing, it'll, like, stick to it, which is funny to me because back in my high school show choir days, whenever the women wore, they called them character shoes, which were, like, theater shoes that have, like, a little, like, 2-inch heel. That was a trick that the women used in show choir, was you spray the bottom of your little heels and, like, the sole of them with hairspray, so that way when you're dancing on stage, you don't slip and you don't fall. So I was like, oh, this, like, makes perfect sense. This is, like, a clever application for hairspray. So I'm kind of in this funny, like, loop again where it's, like, Patrick bought something expensive and then it, like, didn't work. And I mean, he's not gonna like give up or anything, you know, he didn't buy it for nothing, but he's, you know, planning on more stuff that he wants to build. But I feel like just from here going forward, there's gonna be some kind of like bad juju with the 3D printer, and it's gonna like get like 90% done and fail like every time. And it's just like, I don't know, it's kind of frustrating, and I feel a little bit sorry for him, but I have no doubt that he will figure it out and figure out the tips and tricks, and that we will come away successful in this endeavor. But it was just disappointing that it took like 12 hours to print that stupid dog, and then it like messed up like 90% of the way through.
That fucking blows. I guess I have seen a 3D printer before, and I've never like worked with one or anything, but I mean, I know enough about them just to be familiar. No expert by any means or anything, but I guess a couple of questions. So I guess number one, knowing how long it takes them to make things, I guess, like, what is the wear and tear on those? Like, what is the expected, like, lifespan of something like that? And, like, how easy are they to fix, or what do you do if it breaks? And number two, you spent like 8 hours squirting that dog onto the little thing, and then it fucked up at the end. And it's like, how much does that material cost? Like the resin? Because obviously you're not going to have a fucking fucked up dog on your shelf. I mean, you're going to be like, oh, that's the birth defect dog that we had in Patrick's printer. You're not going to keep that. You're going to throw it away, right? So like, I guess like how much does it cost to get more of that stuff? And then also, is it like biodegradable, or like what? I mean, is there going to just be like this landfill full of like floppy headed dogs somewhere? Like, what do you do with all these things?
Okay, I cannot answer a single question you've posed because I don't know. I don't know anything. I know for a fact that the stuff that he buys is called filament, and it's in kind of like in rolls, and you just like kind of like take the roller thing off. It kind of looks like a film reel, as a matter of fact, and you like, but it's like a tube instead of like a flat like film. And that's kind of like what he uses to print. He bought like 3, I guess, like canisters. I don't know what to call them, of filament. So he has a certain amount, but I don't really know anything about it. I don't know like the lifespan of the filament. I don't know, what like square inchage you're supposed to get out of like a roll of filament. I have no idea if like the whole like biodegradable thing. I don't know anything about that. I don't know if the stuff is biodegradable. I don't know anything. I don't even know how much the stuff costs. Like I'm sure there's different types of filament. There's probably like, high quality stuff and like low quality stuff or whatever. There's probably like a million different kinds. So unfortunately, I can't answer any of your questions because I don't know anything about it. I also don't know how long the 3D printer is supposed to last. I don't know how troubleshooting goes on it. I don't know anything. I came to this banter section completely unprepared for questions, but I don't know, try to prod Patrick a little bit and see if he has more info and then bring some updates later on.
I would be curious to know because you have raised so many issues, and just FYI for future, anytime you bring up anything relating to robot arms, make sure you budget the appropriate amount of time because that's not going to be a quick discussion no matter what you say. So, a little disappointed, buddy. You thought we were going to gloss right over that? Come on. Come on.
Well, I think I was hoping that I had talked about it before and that you would just be like, yeah, we've heard it before. Then I could be like, all right, now let's talk about the 3D printer. But that was my fault because I forgot. But, whenever you do a podcast every week for 2 years, it is hard to remember all the things you talked about in the past, so forgive me on that one.
That is for fucking sure. But now I'm going to be kind of disappointed, like when we finally make it out there to Louisiana to visit you guys, I'm going to be in my head thinking like his left arm is going to be made of metal, and it's not going to be, and I'm going to be sad, so... all right, let's move on. Let's move on real quickly here. What do I have for... Oh, okay. We kind of skipped banter for a while, so we didn't really talk about some stuff. I gotta go. I have a whole list of things written down. We're not going to cover all these, but I'll just pick out the highlights. I'm just going to go straight into like TV/film as we do here. We never talked about me going to see the film Shazam, did we?
We did not, because I think you saw it before our last show. We did not do banter on the last show.
It was a while ago. Okay, so prefacing this discussion, you know what this movie is, right, or no?
Yes.
Okay. This is, for people who don't know, it is the newest film in the DC universe, and it is incorporated into the DC universe. It stars, I don't know what the guy's name is, but he was on Chuck, which was running on ABC for a long time, where he was like a nerd that was also a spy. That was a pretty well-liked show for a while.
It's not Zach Braff, is it?
No. In fact, maybe his name's not even Zach. He's, God, terrible. I don't know what his name is. I've never really like watched a show with that guy in it, but my wife really liked him on that TV show, so I would like walk through the room and see him. So I know who he is, but like I never like really like watched him or anything. I'm not like a fan or anything, but anyway.
Oh, he is Zachary Levi according to IMDb.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Zachary Levi. So Shazam is one of the weirder characters in the DC universe. I'm not a DC like expert. I was more of a Marvel guy growing up, which has really paid off in spades for me. Thank you, Marvel Universe. But I was aware of him, and from what I can gather, he's kind of like on the same level as like a Superman. Maybe not quite as strong as Superman, or maybe not quite as invulnerable, but he's like apparently like one of the heavy hitters in the DC universe. But he's also like goofy as shit, because when he was created way long time ago, the creators just had like a really shit origin story for him. Like basically it was like he had the powers of like all these different Greek gods like combined into one person, and it was just really like lame and just not cool and not a very cool origin. And apparently he starts out as a kid in the movie. His name is Billy Batson, and then I'm messing this up. Basically, he's just like a kid who can turn into like a Superman type figure in the DC universe, but it's really goofy. So in this film, I was prepared to not like it at all. We were going to go see a movie that day because we were just feeling antsy. We wanted to get out of the house. We wanted to go see a movie, and it just so happened that like not really a lot was playing that weekend. We wanted, like, if it had just been me and the wife, we probably went to go see Us, but like the son was with us, so that was too scary. There was a couple other things that like nobody had any interest in. I think How to Train Your Dragon 3 wasn't out yet, so we were just like, okay, so what's here? Let's just pick something and just, whatever. We'll be out of the house for a couple hours. So Shazam was playing, and I'm like, well, we all like superhero movies. It's a DC one, so it probably sucks. And Shazam, I've never thought of him as being even remotely cool ever in my life. But I'm like, okay, it seems kind of kid-friendly. We'll just go check it out and whatever. And we go to see this movie, and I gotta say, it was actually, like, excellent. Like, it was super good movie. I was so shocked. I was ready for it to be schlocky and stupid and just dumb and jokey and just not good. And it was actually really, really, really well done. And I'm going to say, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm not going to say that it was as good as Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman was pretty awesome. But, like, dude, it was almost as good as Wonder Woman. Like, it was close. So that's how much I liked it. I like the Wonder Woman. And I know you like the Wonder Woman, too. So kind of get that perspective in your mind about how good this was, because I was just kind of blown away. So, I mean, the story was kind of cool. They made him out to be kind of the kid was like a foster kid, and so they got into some foster kid stuff, and then he eventually gets the powers, and it was kind of cheesy, but it wasn't too bad. And then eventually he, goes through this period where he's like learning to deal with his powers, and so there's a kind of funny montage where he's like, am I bulletproof? Am I flame-proof? Can I fly? Like, can I eat an infinite amount of food, or what can I do? And, I mean, it was pretty good, pretty funny. But then they get into some other issues that I thought were pretty well done. I feel like I've been talking for like a million years. Do you have any questions or thoughts, Corey? Any impressions?
No, not yet. You can keep going.
Okay, keep going. So I gotta say, I really did like how they handled the foster parent thing. I'm sure you probably remember, but my wife and I were really we were very close to becoming a foster family a couple years ago. I think, in fact, even maybe as recent as last year. You remember me talking about that, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Like we were so close to becoming a foster family. If our caseworker hadn't been fired, like literally the week we were about to go through and sign the final papers, I think we would be a foster family right now. But it was just like really crazy timing. And of course, like my wife got a job offer like right after that. So then it kind of took us in a different direction. But we spent a lot of time researching foster families. We took the classes. We went to the workshops. We did all this stuff. Like we were like literally like one step away from being a full-on foster family. So I thought they handled it really well in the movie, and they actually brought up some really good things. I don't want to do like a lot of spoilers because I think people should go see this movie, but there is a point in this film when the main character, Billy Batson, decides that he wants to find his actual birth mother, and then he tracks her down, and through, things happen, blah, blah, blah. He eventually finds her, and I gotta say that the way that they handled that scene, I thought was like, it was just really brave, and it was really unflinching, and it was really surprisingly just straightforward and real. Like, it felt really real to me, and I was not expecting that at all. I mean, that to me was like a real kind of emotional moment. So I was very impressed that they went there with that. And I mean, the rest of it was cool. The special effects were cool. The bad guy was kind of cool. It just was like a really fun, upbeat, real positive, entertaining. Like, it wasn't, ooey gooey, just sappy, sickly sweet. I mean, there was definitely some dark moments to it. Not too dark to take kids, but there was a few dark moments. And just overall, like, it was just really well balanced, really well put together superhero movie. I went into this movie thinking it was going to be cheesy bullshit. And I left thinking it was like very close to being probably the best movie in the DC universe, which, like, I mean, never in a million years did I expect that. So I came away really liking it a lot, Corey. So I know you're not super big on superheroes, but any thoughts, feelings, impressions?
I had the opportunity to go see this, and I declined because Patrick went and saw it with his friend Weston, who we sometimes go and see movies with. But I don't know. It's just one of those movies that, like, I mean, I trust that it's good, and I keep hearing, I keep seeing on Twitter that, oh my God, it's so good and whatever. But there's just like something about it that makes me like not really want to go see it. And I think that's because it's kind of like, and this might be true, it might be not, but in like the trailers and stuff, it seems to be like billing itself as kind of like an action comedy. And it takes a lot for me to get on board with like comedies in general. But the fact that it's kind of like goofy and kind of funny, like usually I don't really go in for that kind of stuff because I feel like my sense of humor is not the same as like the sense of humor that I feel like that movie would put forward. So I don't know. I just like saw that because I've seen like a trailer or two for it, and I just have not really been that interested in seeing it.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I wouldn't pick it as a Corey movie, and honestly, I felt kind of the exact same way that you did, but I think I probably lean more towards this style than you do of film, and that's totally fine. I mean, it is pretty jokey. There are like, some laughs. I mean, it's definitely more friendly towards kids than other superhero films have been. So if you're not up for that kind of thing, totally fine. But I mean, and I'm not trying to sway you or anything. I was just like, I was stunned. I was stunned at how good it came out because, I mean, just DC sucks in general, and Shazam has always seemed like a really lame superhero. And then seeing the trailers really turned me off because it seemed just like really like lowest common denominator, just really shitty jokes and stuff. But man, when I actually saw the whole thing, I just really, really impressed. I enjoyed that movie quite a bit. Way better than I ever gave it credit for. So good stuff. Another movie that I saw yesterday was called Silence, and it's on Netflix. Have you heard of this? It's like a horror film.
Horror film. Is this the Netflix original with Stanley Tucci?
It certainly is.
I have not seen it, but I've seen like a picture for the movie, and I've seen a lot of comparisons being drawn to A Quiet Place, which was last year's horror breakout movie.
Oh, totally, dude. This is literally like The Quiet Place Part 2. Like, it is pretty shameless in how close it is to that film. I mean, it just is. Like, and it's funny, there's been a number of, like, sensory deprivation movies ever since The Quiet Place made it big. There was the Bird Box with Sandra Bullock where she couldn't see, and this is Silence with Stanley Tucci where you can't talk again, so you can be quiet. I'm sure there's a couple more coming out, but obviously trends are a thing in Hollywood. But I gotta say, it was okay. Like, if you want like a B movie horror film, it's pretty okay. I mean, it's basically the exact same thing as A Quiet Place. People are mining in the Appalachian Mountains or something. They break into this like cavern that's like 1,000 feet below ground, and it ends up being, I don't know, some cavern that time forgot. It was filled with these like mutant bats that are all blind, but they can hear really well, and they escape into the wild, the surface world. And there's like 1 billion of them. There's like tons of bats, which makes me wonder what the fuck they're eating down there, because how can you support that many bats down there unless they're cannibals or something? But basically they attack anything that makes a sound, and so as you can imagine, people start getting mowed down left, right, and center, and Stanley Tucci and his family are trying to survive. Now, this is also not only in the sense that you need to be quiet as in The Quiet Place, but in The Quiet Place, one of the main characters was actually deaf. She was a literal deaf girl who was also an actress, and so she played the, deaf in the movie, and that was a big part of the actual film. In this film, they also have a deaf girl, but she is late deafened, and I'll explain that if you don't know what that means. Late deafened is a person who grew up speaking and hearing like a normal person, but then something happens and they become deaf later in life. So sometimes it's disease, sometimes it's trauma, like you have a car accident, you hit your head, or something like that happens, unexplained damage to your ear or something, and you become deaf, but you've already lived most of your life as a hearing person. So the person in this film is the actress that plays Sabrina on Netflix. I don't know what her actual name is, but she is not a deaf person at all. And so I was kind of put off that they had to pick a hearing person who was not actually deaf to play this role. But she was late deafened, so I guess it was not as bad as it could have been. But it was a little sketchy for me. I think they needed a little bit more sensitivity training, and maybe they could have found a legit deaf actress to do this. That would have made me feel a little bit better. There was a bunch of sign language in the movie, and I have to say, whatever sign coach they picked did an amazing job, because not only were the signs correct, he had the level of signing appropriate, where the mom did more than the dad, which is like 99% true in real life. The concepts of how they use the sign language were totally appropriate. I was very impressed by that. I forgot to look in the credits who the sign coach was, but whoever it was, A+ job. And so, of course, like, she's doing sign language. The family knows sign language. That facilitates most of the movie because they can sign to each other and it's quiet. And then later on, a little creep factor pops in where there's like this group of religious nuts who think that these bats are God's judgment. And so they go around trying to create this like little flock of people and they try to recruit the family. Family doesn't want to be recruited. Conflict ensues, blah, blah, blah. I mean, basically this whole thing is just A Quiet Place. So if you want more of A Quiet Place, this is literally, it is literally Quiet Place Part 2. Like, so similar in tone, so similar in events, so similar in like just look of it. I mean, super, super, super close. It did bring up a very interesting point for me, and which I'll bring up in a second. But questions, thoughts, comments, Corey?
Not yet, other than I was totally prepared for you to talk about how the sign language was horse shit and they didn't do it well in the movie. So I'm actually surprised that you're like, oh, they did a really good job. That's pleasant to hear, but I don't have any questions so far.
Yeah, it was weird. I was really on guard when I realized they picked somebody hearing to play the role, but whoever, I mean, that's a separate decision. The sign coach probably had absolutely nothing to do with that, but the sign coaching was great. So I should probably look that up and find out who that was, but I probably know them. But it brought up an interesting point. So at one point when the religious freaks show up, and they act like all friendly at first, right? They're like, hey, we're, obviously weirdos, but we're here, we want to help, and, you should join our flock, and blah, blah, blah. And the family's like, nah, no thanks, we're not like that. And they start getting less friendly the more that the family rebuffs them. And then at one point, they all kind of form a group, and they come up to the family's house, and they're like, you guys are going to join us. Or in fact, fuck it, who cares? We just want your daughter because she can have our babies. So they just like straight up say that, right? And so the wife and I we have a very shared attitude. Like, we have no problem killing people if they need killing. So, like, don't cross us. In real life. So, dead silence. Okay. Moving on. So what happened was, as they're sitting there in the movie, Stanley Tucci has a shotgun, and these people are straight up saying, we're going to kidnap your daughter, and we're going to make her have our babies. And Stanley Tucci's he's got a shotgun, he's pointing right at him, and the wife's like, fucking kill him. I'm like, I know, right? Just fucking kill him. Because if you don't kill him, they're just going to come back. Which is literally exactly what happened. They came back like that night. And we're like, they made themselves known to be an enemy. They're coming after you. They're coming after your daughter. You're not safe. You've got the drop on them. You could kill like half the group in one shot right here because they're clustered up. Fucking kill him. And he didn't kill him, of course, because, they had to do dramatic stuff. But, like, we're totally like that. Like, like in The Walking Dead or in any horror movie, like, whenever, like, some weirdo, like, survivor shows up, and it seems like they're crazy, or they're going to be a danger to the group, and they do something weird. And, like, in the movies, they're always like, oh, fellow human, we got to let him go. And we're like, no, we're not going to let him go, because you let him go, they're just going to come back and get you later. I mean, like, so I wanted to pose that question to you. Like, if that was a situation where you knew somebody didn't like you, somebody was out for your ass, they were going to come back, you couldn't trust them, like, would you let him go, or would you, like, take care of it?
I mean, I don't know. It's impossible to say what I would do in the face of trauma because it's so easy to say, oh, of course I would do this. And then in this situation, I would not actually do that. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't want to say definitively because I think saying stuff like that I'm not saying this about you, but I'm saying in general, that attitude can sometimes get people in trouble because like there's a lot of people who think very aggressively and very loudly, oh, well, if I were in your shoes, I would do this. But the truth is they probably would not do that, or they wouldn't even know what to do with themselves if they were in that situation, just based on the contextual surroundings and whatever sort of like nervous trauma is ensuing in the moment. So I don't know what I would do. I would like to think that I would kill someone if like that sort of situation were at hand, but I don't know what I would do.
That's a fair answer. That's a very fair answer. So, and of course, each their own. I'm not judging anybody, and thankfully we're not in that situation right now, and I would never really want to be in real life. But yeah, I mean, we often look at each other, like, especially, like, we watched a lot of years of The Walking Dead, like, many seasons of it, and that happened, like, at least, like, 3 times a season, where, like, some weirdo would show up, they would threaten, like, the group, and the group would let him go because they were, like, a fellow human, and that person inevitably came back, like, every single time, and, like, let zombies into the encampment, or like stabbed somebody in the back, or stole their food. Like, it happened like literally every time. And we're like, dude, this person is trouble. Like, just get rid of them, because they're not going to leave you alone. Like, you know, and it's your survival or theirs. So anyway, question that comes up for us pretty often. My wife and I are almost always on the same page about this. So it was interesting that they brought that up, and Stanley Tucci did not pull the trigger, despite the fact that these guys were threatening to kidnap his fucking daughter, which I thought was over the top. But anyway, Silence is basically A Quiet Place Part 2. Check it out if you want more of that. I have a couple more things, but Corey, let me turn it back over to you. What else you got on your plate, man? You said you had some TV and movies.
I do. I have TV specifically to talk about. So Patrick and I finally got caught up on Star Trek Discovery, which we have been slowly watching. We have CBS All Access, so we've been watching it on the All Access app. We don't have like cable or anything. And we had, for the longest time, we had been like 4 episodes behind, and it comes on every week. And there's only like 14 episodes for season 2, so it's not even that long. And each episode is like 45 minutes or so. And we just like would never sit down and watch it together. So over the weekend, we kind of crunched like 4 or 5 episodes in the past week or so, I would say, and have watched it. And last weekend was the season 2 season finale, or last Thursday, I should say. So we have finished all of season 2, and we are, I mean, I guess it got renewed for season 3, so it'll be back probably in like a year or so, which is a weird thing. Like, I don't know, to think about stopping watching a show and then having to wait like a year or so for it to come back on. But we are done with season 2. I want to talk about it, but I also don't know how much I can say, because there's like a lot of stuff that happens, and I don't want to like spoil anything. So I can't, I'm kind of like at a crossroads of like, I have finished this, but I'm not exactly sure what I should and should not say about it.
You should probably play it conservatively, because I think that people care. It's still a pretty brand new show. It's still kind of like fresh in people's minds. I've actually talked about this show a lot with other people. I haven't seen it yet. I would like to watch it. Just haven't had the time, but it's on my agenda. But a lot of people that I know who have seen it have said really good things, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you should definitely check it out." And it's getting good, and so maybe be pretty conservative with the spoilers. But you're high on it though. It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I mean it has its moments of good and bad, and I guess so. As like a general sort of like thing to say about the show is like, and I guess I have like some general input, and I'll try not to be spoilery. And there's actually like a lot of stuff that happens in season 1 too that like directly affects season 2. So I don't even really want to spoil like season 1. But like it kind of like in general, I like the show, and I think it's good, and it has like good moments, and there are good episodes. And there are some episodes where they end and I'm like, wow, like that was really wonderful. But I feel like the overall sort of like season story arcs that the show is going for, like, leave me a little bit like disappointed is maybe a good word for it. And like the thing about season 2, and I'll try to be as light-handed as possible when I talk about this, it's like there's just like a lot of stuff that happens in season 2, and there'll be like, it kind of does that thing where like, you know, for example, I don't know the specifics on this, so I'm just gonna say like, okay, in episode 3, you know, like a certain thing will happen, and it'll be like a pretty, you know, like intense scenario for like that episode, and then like that thing won't come up again for like 7 episodes, and then you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that thing happened. And I mean, maybe that's partly because I'm watching it like every week, or I took like several weeks of breaks between the show because I'm not like I said, Patrick and I weren't keeping up with it week by week. But it's kind of like it like gets its like punches in by like having kind of like juggernaut episodes, and then like the thing that happened in the episode like will just kind of like go away for a little while. And it also does a thing where, and I stand by this opinion of basically like any medium, you know, whether it be like a book or a movie or a TV show or whatever, a video game. It kind of does it in 2 counts on season 2, where like the season kind of opens with a couple of big mysteries, and there's like, they spend half the season like chasing down this one thing, and then meanwhile there's this other like bigger thing at play going on, and it's the kind of mystery where that something's going to get revealed like way down the line. Like you're going to find out where this person is, or you're going to find out like what that space entity they're seeing or whatever, like what it's going to be, or maybe it's going to be a person, maybe it's going to be an alien, and like the whole like season is kind of like riding up to that big reveal. And I really, really dislike whenever, and a lot of movies do this, where like a movie will open with like a mystery, and then it'll spend the entire movie getting to that mystery. And no matter what happens, I'm like always disappointed whenever the mystery is revealed. Like I rarely find it satisfying whenever like the entire driving force of a narrative is like one single like mysterious thing that's happening. Because in my head, as things are unfolding, I go over like, okay, well, it could be this, it could be that. Like I basically go through like an A to Z of scenarios of whatever this mystery thing could possibly be. And like, I'm not disappointed because I do or don't get it right. Like, it's not really the point. I'm not trying to like guess what thing is going to happen, but it's just like you go through the amount of things in your head. And so you're already like planning for whatever mystery could be revealed. Like, oh, is this space entity? Well, it could be a Klingon, or it could be the main character's, stepmom, or it's just like there's just like so many things, or it could be a person, I don't even know, like it could be a cameo from a different Star Trek season. Like there's just so many different things that go through my head where I'm like already thinking about what the thing could be. And season 2 is like pretty guilty of doing that, where it's like kind of like builds up these big mysterious things, and then it like they kind of come together, and they don't always come together in really satisfying ways, which is like slightly disappointing. And like the other thing that's unrelated to those sort of like mysterious things that like bothers me a little bit about Star Trek Discovery is like in a normal Star Trek like season or series or what have you, you have like all of the major players on the bridge for the most part, except for whoever is the doctor on the ship, because they're like in the medical quarters. And I almost said the game. And the show like generally like characterizes everyone on the bridge. Like you have the captain, you have the first officer, you have, I don't even know what all their titles are, but it's just like, like Counselor Troy and like Worf, and, you have like everybody who has like a major battle station on the bridge. They're like the lead characters in the show. And the interesting thing about Star Trek Discovery is that that's not really the case. And I don't like mind that so much, because like a lot of the characters, like the show still has good characters, but it's not like the people on the bridge that are the main characters. Like obviously the captain is a main character, and like number 1 is a main character, but that's like kind of where it ends as far as like the people on the bridge go. Like there's a lot of people on the bridge in Star Trek Discovery, and you see them in almost every single episode, but most of them have like, not most of them, maybe like 3 or 4 of them have like a line per episode, 2 lines maybe per episode. And it's just weird to be living in this universe where like the people on the bridge are not the people that are being characterized in the show. And I keep like waiting for that to happen. Like, oh, well, maybe like the engineering guy will get an episode this time, or maybe the woman at the helm who's piloting the ship will get her episode. And like there's like tiny bits and pieces here and there, but like there's a couple dudes who have been on the bridge the entire time. Like one's like a security guy, and one is like the communications guy. And they just like have not been characterized at all over 2 seasons of the show. And it's just bizarre to me that like they don't have their episodes. I keep like waiting for, and I don't know if this will ever happen, if Star Trek Discovery will ever hit a pace where it like starts to characterize everybody on the bridge, because it's doing that thing where it's unlike some Star Treks where the episodes they are episodic. They're not like capsule episodes. It's very rare that there's a capsule episode in Star Trek Discovery. I mean, there might actually not be any, because everything is one giant arc that, kind of drives the entire series, which is generally, I think, something that people want in a series, because that was kind of like why people didn't like Star Trek Voyager, is because it generally, most of the episodes were more like capsule episodes, and they like kind of barely threaded together. But I just like, I want the series to kind of hit a place where it can like start being a little bit more lighthearted and a little bit more funny and a little bit more goofy, and be able to like hit a lull where it can kind of like really characterize all the people that are on the bridge of the ship. Because right now it's just like, oh, like, you know, X plot that the universe is going to explode or whatever, and we have to go like solve it over the course of the season. And I kind of just wish that it would be like a little less like, you know, we have to save the universe like in every episode, because I get tired of that in like superhero movies. That's one reason why I'm not a huge fan of superhero movies, because every fucking superhero movie is, oh, here's the beginning of the movie, oh, this thing is threatening the entire galaxy, oh, we beat the thing, the movie's over. And like I get enough of that in other places, and I kind of wish that like my favorite sort of like sci-fi storylines are the ones that are really grounded and that don't really have anything to do with like saving the universe or like, you know, flying spaceships. Like, yeah, it's great that they're flying spaceships, but I need like a little bit more humanity in the episodes.
Totally.
And I feel like Discovery has yet to like hit that stride for me, and it's just like a little bit disappointing in that regard.
I mean, I agree with you about that, about TV shows and movies and all that stuff too. And also about games. Like, that's really like my big thing about games right now. I mean, we're not really talking about games because this is the banter section, but I have like basically zero interest in saving the world with anybody anymore. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. Every fucking Japanese RPG is about a group of high school students saving the world. Every American RPG is about one, you know, the chosen one saving the world. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I would love to play a game where, in fact, we might have even talked about this, where like you're in an office and like your goal is to like get a promotion, and like that's all. Like, nobody's gonna die, but you know, there could be like inter-office politics, or maybe like you're gonna go fishing or something, and while you're fishing you're developing a relationship with your son, or you know, there's like a billion stories that are smaller and that are character pieces and that you could still have gameplay mechanics, but you know, it's not about like a giant meteor crashing into the earth, it's not about death coming to wipe everybody out, it's not about the devil or anything. It's just like, you know, there's a million stories that are like really cool adventures that could happen. I mean, I'm right with you. Like, I love shows where you get to know the people, where you get to learn about their character, and like, you know, like you have an ensemble show perhaps, but like everybody gets an episode once in a while. I mean, I love that, and it kind of makes me wonder. I haven't seen Discovery yet, but I mean, I guess like hearing you describe it, it's like, what do they do? Is it just like the two main characters and everybody else just gets like a line here and there, and like the two characters enough to carry the show, or like how do they do a show without ever focusing on the other people?
Well, they still, like, the weird thing is that they still have plenty of characters who like have a lot of stakes, because the show, in general, the show is about a character called Michael Burnham, who was played by Sonequa Martin Green, who I believe got started on The Walking Dead, and then she kind of crossed over to the lead. And so, like, she's the central character of the show, but the interesting thing is that she's not, like, the captain of the ship. She's not number one. Like, she doesn't start, she kind of starts as, like, an ensign or something in season 1. And she's on the bridge at a certain point. Like, she kind of has to, like, earn her way back to the bridge. But it is interesting because she's not, like, super in command of stuff on the ship, which is weird because, you know, Star Trek is generally about, like, the captain and like him or her leading the ship, but it's like, you know, the show is generally about the captain, Commander Saru, who plays sort of like the number one on the bridge, who is played by Doug Jones, a famous character actor who's basically the main character of like every
monster movie.
Every monster movie. Now I'm trying to think, what's the director's name that you talked about last week?
Del Toro. He was in The Shape of Water.
Yeah, Del Toro.
He was in Hellboy. He was in, I mean, like every
Pan's
fucking tall,
Labyrinth.
skinny, every tall, skinny monster, he is that guy.
Yeah, so like he's a big character. There's another like ensign on the deck named Captain Tilly, Sylvia Tilly, and she's like hilarious. She's kind of like the comic relief of the show. And there's like a guy who works in engineering, and he's like the openly gay character on the show, and he's like one of the leads. And then you have like in season 2, there's a lot that has to do with Section 31, which people who know Star Trek will know that Section 31 is kind of like the undercover, like covert ops, like sort of above the law fleet in Star Trek. And so there's like a lot of Section 30. There's like two, like the captain and number one from a Section 31 ship that are like pretty prominent in season 2 specifically. So there's just like there's like enough characters to hold it down, but it's just interesting to me because like usually those characters are all the major players on the bridge, but in Discovery, like it's not all of those people. And I keep like waiting for everybody on the bridge to like get their episode. And so far, like two of them maybe have gotten their episode, and that's it, because the show is so focused on like stopping whatever is causing this war or whatever is threatening the universe. Like, it's more focused on that than it is like humanizing the characters that I wish it were humanizing.
Gotcha. Interesting. I mean, would you recommend it at all? I mean, it sounds like you kind of like it, but also maybe it's not quite popping for you. I mean, would you still recommend it?
I recommend it. I think it's good. I mean, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't be watching it. That's kind of like a bigger point here. I just I have reservations with the way that the way the show's going, kind of how things are progressing. I feel pretty confident in saying that season 1 is better than season 2. So for people, if you're listening to this, y'all, and you've never seen Star Trek Discovery at all, and you're thinking about getting into it, season 1, I think, is very good. Like, I think it's a good place to start. It really kind of kicks the show off in a new direction, and it really goes places. And like, season 1 has like an arc. Like, it goes places that season 2 like cannot bring you back from, and I really appreciate that. But season 2, I mean, it's like, you know, if I had to like rate them, I mean, season 1 is maybe like an 8 out of 10, and season 2 is like a 7. So it's not like super bad. I just think that if you're having reservations about it, season 1 is definitely like I would highly recommend it. Just know that, in my opinion, season 2 is like a little bit not as good.
Interesting. Like I said, we do plan to watch it. We just haven't got around to it. But something, I wasn't going to bring this up, but now that we're talking about Star Trek, I was actually thinking of something kind of funny and weird and interesting the other day. Is, you know, I might have mentioned a while ago that my oldest son was with us for the summer a while ago, and he had expressed an interest in watching Star Trek. So we started with like the very first episode ever and started watching like the original, you know, the Captain Kirk series, the first series. We got a good way into it, and he actually surprisingly enjoyed it. I was ready for him to say, "Oh my God, this is too old. I can't watch this," but he actually did kind of get into it, which was kind of nice. So we watched some of that, and then he went back home to his mom, and we haven't really like finished off with that. But, you know, time went by, and then my youngest son, who lives with me, is kind of getting into that same zone. And, you know, I've talked about the Orville several times on the show, and I still really like the Orville a lot. There's been a lot of cool episodes this season, season 2. It's been very strong. But something that I think is kind of interesting is that my youngest son has never seen an episode of any Star Trek ever. So he has only seen the Orville, which I think is a good show, and I'm glad that we watched it, and I think it's actually a good entry point to Star Trek because it basically is Star Trek, just a little bit funnier. But I'm like, you know, I was kind of planning on busting out like Next Generation for him when he was ready, and now I'm like, well, now that we've seen the Orville's closest parallel is Next Generation, so we've seen like 2 episodes of the Orville, and if I bust out Next Gen now, he's going to be like, wait a minute, these guys are ripping off the Orville. What's going on? Like, it's weird to think that he's watching a one-off Star Trek show and not seeing Star Trek, and that will be his point of reference for every Star Trek thing that he ever sees for the rest of his life. So I don't know if some Star Trek fans out there think I have committed some kind of big crime or something by doing this, but I mean, it's interesting to think that he is always going to think of like Lieutenant Bortus as instead of Lieutenant Worf, like they're kind of analogs, where he's going to think of, you know, the robot guy on Orville instead of thinking of Lieutenant Data, where there's these parallels, different, of course, different, but still like kind of in the same wheelhouse. So something to think about. I was gonna maybe like get Next Gen going once we had watched all the episodes of Orville. We're almost to the end of it, but I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. I have no other further comment or anything, and you know, feel free to, you know, pass on a comment if you want. But just something to think about. Like, it's just weird to me that he's got the off-brand Star Trek before he got the Star Trek, and now the Star Trek is going to seem like the off-brand Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's kind of like, or maybe I should say, like, for better or worse, it's kind of one of those, you know, just like as generations go, because basically in entertainment, all you have is like people remaking the same things or remaking versions of things over and over and over again without realizing it. And when you were talking about that, I was thinking about like, that happens a lot in music too, because you'll have like songs either that are remade or songs that sample like produced music from other songs. And so you have like like younger kids who hear a song and they're like, wow, this is really good. And you're like, yeah, so was it when it was originally written 30 years ago. And they're like, what? And so like, people don't even realize that like the songs are being remade, or that like the music that was produced for them was actually produced for a song like 30 years ago that was maybe in a better song, maybe in a worse song, who knows. But It's like, I don't know, I insert like originality is dead or something in here.
No, 100%, dude, 100%. I remember when Vanilla Ice was popular in like the 90s or whatever, everybody was like loving that song for that hot second. And then I'm like, well, actually that was like from Under Pressure. Like it's literally the same piece of music. They're like, people had like no idea that song even existed, or like, like you just said. I mean, there's a sample, or like people will hear like a guitar riff and I'm like, oh yeah, that was totally just like what Eddie Van Halen did like 20 years ago or something. And who knows what he got it from too, right? Like I've only been alive for so long, so the references can only go so far back. But yeah, totally. I mean, there's literally nothing new under the sun, no matter what you think you've got. And this is a perfect example of that. So I guess we'll see how it plays out. But on the plus side, I think The Orville's great. So I'm happy that he's watching that. It's not terrible. So a lot of good stuff on that show. I just have like one more thing. Do you have anything else on your agenda? Or how are you doing on your list?
I think I'm cleared for banter.
All right. I just have one more quick thing, just really quick mention since we're talking about TV. I was loving Steven Universe. I talked about it a couple times on the show previously. My son and I just finished all of it. I wasn't sure if it had a beginning, middle, and an end, or if it was like an ongoing thing or whatever. It seemed like there was multiple storylines going, but I didn't know what was ahead. I wasn't spoiling myself. I didn't really want to ask anybody. But we finished it all, and I can't say if it's 6 or 7 seasons, because like if you look at Netflix or whatever, it has 6 seasons, but if you go to Hulu, they broke it into 7, and I don't know why they did that. Kind of weird, but regardless, whether it's 6 or 7 seasons, it does have a beginning, middle, and an end, and we watched all of the entire thing. And I gotta say, like, it blew me away. Like, it was so good. It was so rich and meaningful, and we got to the end, and they covered so many topics, and they just talked about... So, I mean, it was just, like, such a human show. Like, despite the fact that Steven is, like, half human and half alien gem creature, and the other people on the show are gem creatures, and he's living in this weird town, and weird things happen. Like, it was just, like, over and over, it just really drove home, like, humanity. Like, we are all who we are, and that's okay. We should love who we are. We should accept other people for who they are. You can't really be happy unless you're really expressing your most inner, genuine self. Those kind of issues over and over and over, not only in how they relate to just being as a human, but also specifically in relation to, like, LGBT stuff and issues and just being queer. I mean, it was pretty obvious that stuff comes up a lot. And I was really grateful for how they handled it. I thought it was all really touching and sophisticated and yet accessible, and never like super overwhelming. And they touched on a lot of things that I thought were really surprising to be in a cartoon. And the ending got really good, like really, really good. And they wrapped it all up, and I felt like it ended strong. And overall, man, I mean, it sounds kind of ridiculous to say, but I feel like I'm kind of like a better person for like watching the whole series, because it just was so good. Like, it was so much good work being done there, not only from an entertainment perspective, but just like they had like things to say, like in all capital letters, like this series had a point, it had a message, it was reaching out to kids these days, and it was reaching out to people. And I mean, it was doing good work. I mean, everything about it I love the characters, I love the story, I love the message. Really, really glad I watched it. I know I was giving it a lot of love before. I'm just going to give it more love now. And if you're listening to the show and you haven't watched Steven Universe, and you think you might be up for a cartoon about like queer issues and about being friends and about finding yourself, this is pretty awesome, pretty amazing. I have like literally nothing bad to say about it. We even listened to the soundtrack. There's a number of musical episodes, and the songs are actually really good as well. So great soundtrack, great writing, great characters. It's just great all around. One of the best things I've ever seen. I loved every minute of it.
And now you don't know what to do with your life now that it's over.
Oh, dude. It was a mistake to start with Gravity Falls and Steven Universe, because we started at the top, and I didn't realize that. But, like, we watched 2 of the best things ever, and we've tried to get on board with a couple new series since then, and it has been shit show after shit show after shit show. Big thank you to everybody on Twitter. I asked for some recommendations, and I got like a bunch of recommendations. I got like 20 or 30 different shows that we're going to watch, but we've been through maybe 3 or 4 of them so far. And ooh, whoa, whoa, wow, yuck, dude. A lot of these are just like, they have the shrill, random, irritating aspect of modern cartoons, but without the heart or the message or the depth to them. And I'm willing to give shows a chance, but if I get through like 3 episodes, I'm giving everything 3 episodes. If I get to the end of 3 episodes and I fucking can't stand your show, like I'm bailing. Like I'm not going to put more time into it. So it's really tough. We haven't found anything to replace Steven Universe and Gravity Falls, but folks, if you're listening, if you got a good recommendation, please email me here at the show. Let me know what you think I should watch. I've got another like 25 different shows that we're going to audition to see what we're going to sign up for. So there's, we're not out of shows. I mean, there's infinite shows, but nothing. I mean, it's going to take a really amazing show to fill that gap. I don't know if anything can fill that gap, but hopefully we'll find something that's at least good to watch soon. Nothing yet, but we're getting there.
All right. Well, we've been bantering for like 100 million years.
Literally since the dinosaurs were alive.
Literally.
The last Stegosaurus just keeled over. It's time to end banter. All right. You ready to talk about some games?
I think so.
All right. Let's talk about some games.